They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle, celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 166 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see what we got in the building today. Let's see here. We got, oh my goodness, we got a lot of people here. We got Ricardo Giannis in the building, my man from Houston. We got Scott Wiley out there in Chester, West Virginia. We got Takesha High in VA. We got where we at? Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Takesha, Truesdale, Atlanta. We got just Roman numeral 2 from Cincinnati. It says Leslie Lyles, good morning. Grace Castaneda out there in Texas. Solomon Bazue, good morning to you. Says you got the job. Solomon, congratulations. Clap him up, somebody. Solomon Bazue, I believe it is, Jr., got the job as an AP. You make sure you stay locked into the virtual AP Leadership Academy as well, Solomon. We got Portia Ajigbo from DC. First year AP. Portia, does that mean first year completed or first year moving on to next school year? That'll be your first. We got my man Michael Moore in the building. He said, what's up, brother? I said, what's up? Back at you. Good to see you, Michael Moore. Darnell McElveen is in the building up there. Hotep to you out there in Minneapolis. Stacey Ann Barrett. Principal Otis Kitchen II doing his thing. I see you're going to be on there with Josh Tovar, my man, and Dean Packard. I'll be watching. We got Principal Michael Benson in the building. Cammie Berry in the building. Monty Abner, that's my man. Monty, where you been, sir? I see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. You know I'm gonna get you on here too, man. I got you on this list. That list is long. A lot of folks I know, man. You on the list. We got you. We got you. Principal Sherrod Law, same thing. Yaz Dillard is in the building. Anthony St. John in the building. Rashad Davis out there in Vegas, man. I need to get to Vegas too, man, just to chill. I don't know if Vegas is actually a chill place, but I just need to get away from here. You know, I get away from here in terms of speaking engagements. I need to get away from here in terms of doing nothing. Edgar Ray is in the building. Lakeisha Mabry is in the building. We got Jocelyn Nelson in the building. Whitney Smith. Oh man, I was on the platform with Whitney Smith, Dr. Whitney Smith, the other day, man. It was supposed to be an hour, but you know, man, that education Holy Ghost got in me, y'all, man. We was on there for 2 hours, man. And I still wasn't finished, you know. But I had to, you know, I told the folks that we better shut it down because the folks who were on didn't come on to be on for 2 hours, man. But you know, some of y'all understand that, man. When that education Holy Ghost gets in you, man, you can't do nothing about it. It just takes over. Right? It just takes over your spirit. It takes over your soul. We got Principal Otis Kitchen, as I said, my man. We got Jenny Guarini in the building. We got Tara Blackshire Scott in the building. She's going to be on here with me later on, bringing that Alabama spirit with her. We got Stacey Ann Barrett out there in New Orleans in the building. I like how you spell go, man. You give it that little French thing. Let's go. Tony McClenny is in the building out there in Battle Creek. We got Yolanda McKinney in the building. Dr. Roz Gaskins in the building. If you missed the session with Dr. Roz Gaskins and I, and we had someone else in the building with us, we had a few others. Go back and check that one out, man. It was dynamite. She's out there in the DMV taking care of business. We got Johnny Sadler in the building. Ohio Girl Jones. I ain't seen you in a minute. Good to see you. Good to see you. Lysandra Brackens is in the building. Dr. Sheikah Houston. I got to watch the rewind, Doc. I was on here talking to OC Chapman, man. We must have been on here for like 45 minutes, man. So I'll check out the rewind later. We were having a dynamite conversation. We got the Queen in the building. Kimberly Broughton, Kafele, the Queen, man. Let me tell y'all something, man. The Queen holds me down, y'all. That's you know. Let me go off topic for a second, y'all. I think I might have said this last week or so, but you gotta have that significant other, man. When you doing the heavy lifting of being a school leader, man, or even as a speaker like what I do now, you gotta have that person that's gonna hold you down, man. That's a whole conversation. Actually, myself, Sheikah, Tammy, Dr. Tammy Houston, Sean Hurt. We're going to get into that in December. We're going to do we coming back together. Josh Tovar, we're going to talk about relationships as it relates to the leadership. So that's coming. Put that on your calendar. That's in December. I don't even remember the date. We got Wendy Chinchilla in the building. We got Doc McKeever Jeter. I'm getting ready to close it, y'all, because I got to get going. I see you, Dr. Tammy Taylor. Happy Saturday to you, too, from out there in South Carolina. I see my man Joshua Emulus Brooks in the building. I think I'm getting ready to shut it down. I see Sean Hurt. I got to shout him out. Principal Sean Hurt, always bringing that deep knowledge on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock, along with Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Then yours truly at 10:55. And then my man Josh Tovar, along with his sidekick Dean Packard, every Sunday at 7 o'clock on Facebook Live. Make sure you check us out. We are the Fantastic Four. I think I'm going to stop it right there, y'all. I see John Few. I see you. I think I'm gonna stop it right there and let's go, because I got the three big time guests. I see you, Jasmine Harris. I see you, Doc McKeever Jeter, Principal Doc McKeever Jeter. We gonna be. Let me tell you before I greet you and say good morning. We're gonna be a long session today, y'all. I hope you can stick around for a while. I got three, but we got so much to share. But I got some stuff to talk about in my commentary this morning. So let me go. Good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 166 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Man, I got that same question, man. I'm going to ask it every day until I can't do it no more. My question is to everybody on here live and everybody who will see the recording later on. How you doing? That's my question. How are you? And I figured out what's wrong with my camera. I just haven't fixed it yet. So just work with me. How are you? Hey, y'all, what a week. What a week on the Supreme Court. We're going to talk a little something about it, right? But despite the week, and the week was a setback for a lot of people, man. Millions of people. But you know something? Like Josh, like Willie Jolly says, y'all hear this phrase, but a lot of y'all don't know where it came from. It came from Willie Jolly. Willie Jolly said a setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. That came from Willie Jolly. Google him. Been out here speaking forever. A setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. So because of that, despite the week, despite my personal challenges, I'm on fire! Woo! Whew! Had to get that out, y'all. Had to get it out. You know, that's my release. That's my weekly release. Now I'm good. I can get through the next week. Right? You know, y'all, I got this commentary, man. I'm glad we got good numbers in the beginning because I want y'all to hear this, man. But I want y'all to stay with us for the day. Just stay with us, man. Whatever long it takes, just stay with us. You know, that Supreme. Oh, I appreciate all that fire, y'all. Wow. I see my Aunt Judy Matthews, man. I didn't know you were here, Judy. Good to see ya. Listen, y'all. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's just talk briefly about the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action, right? Not so much about that ruling, but I wrote a post on Facebook, and I decided last night I want to read the post verbatim. And I don't want this to be perceived outside of how it was intended to be received. So it's titled, "To my white colleagues and friends out there, let me share my initial thoughts on today's affirmative action ruling." Now, this was written as soon as it hit the airways. I went right to my Facebook page and I wrote this post. This is my immediate reaction, and that's why I say my initial thoughts. They're my thoughts, but this is the first thing I thought. I don't know that I was really thinking affirmative action. This is my reaction. I'm gonna read it verbatim. "It behooves you to dig deeper into truly understanding what it is to wake up Black every morning. Our reality as Americans is not your reality as Americans. We cannot escape from the issues of race. We embody racial tension in America. It is a part of our psyche. It is our spirit. It is omnipresent in our lives. Most things that we do and most things that we think are always viewed through through a racial lens. Being a Black American is a daily challenge. Being a Black American student in America's education system from pre-K to K to postgraduate school is a daily challenge. Today is yet another setback for Black people in America. It's not easy to be Black in America, but the good thing is that we continue to thrive, despite the fact that the goalposts keep moving back and practically out of reach. We will not be defeated, however. Oh no, because history has proven Black people to be a resilient people. But for the purposes of this thought, dig deeper. Understand what it is to be Black in America, the population in America who are descendants of an enslaved people from Africa. Those are my initial thoughts when I saw that ruling. You know, there's so much more that could be said, but I just thought about what it is to be Black in America. But then I said, man, this thing happened on the heels of Independence Day, July 4th. Hey, Judy, tell Arnold to tune in for me. This happened on the heels of Independence Day. Dr. DeLacy Davis, I see you. Appreciate you too. And, you know, those of you that have been rocking with me on this platform for all 3+ years, but those of you who've been rocking with me before I was doing the virtual AP Leadership Academy and just coming on here live this was Sundays back in the day, since they invented Facebook Live, every Sunday I was on. You know, 4th of July weekend, I always go here. Always, right? Frederick Douglass, this is volume 2 of Frederick Douglass, Life and Writings of Frederick Douglass. It says 4 volumes, but there's a bonus volume, and they're thick. But this is my go-to every July 4th, whether it be on the 4th or in the season of the 4th. This is my go-to. So I want you to indulge me for a minute, because there's this speech that I think is one of the greatest speeches that was ever delivered in America. And I'm not going to read the speech because we don't have that kind of time. And quite frankly, this is not the platform for me to do that. But it's called, "What is the 4th of July to the Slave?" Right? What is the 4th of July to the slave? And the interesting thing about it, and you can Google the speech, you don't have to get this 5-volume set, although I would certainly endorse it and recommend that you did the 5-volume set. But there's this one passage, and I just want to share that one passage with you. If I can, I should have bookmarked it. Here it is. I got it, I think. Maybe I wrote it in my notes. All right, here we go. I just want to share this one passage with you, and then I'm gonna move on. Frederick Douglass said in this July 4th speech, in 1852, he said, "But such is not the state of the case." And let me read a little quick. He said, "I say it with a sad sense of the disparity between us. I'm not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary." I want y'all to hear me. Don't be on here like I'm here to hear the assistant principal stuff. No, this part of it, because you got to know them kids, and this is the history of those kids. And if you're sitting here and you're an American, this is a part of American history. I don't care if you black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, I don't care what you are. This is American history, the part that they don't want you to know. So let me keep going. I'm going to read that last sentence again. I'm not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary, meaning July 4th. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. This is Frederick Douglass speaking. The sunlight that brought light and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? If so, there's a parallel to your conduct. And let me warn you that it is dangerous to copy the example of a nation whose crimes, towering up to heaven, were thrown down by the breath of the Almighty, burying that nation in irrevocable ruin. I can today take up the plaintive lament of appealed and woe-smitten people. That's Frederick Douglass, y'all. Let me say this again. I'm just dropping, this is 4th of July weekend. I'm just dropping a little American history. There are folks out there that would call that critical race theory. They would call it making children uncomfortable in their classrooms. They would call it racism, reverse racism. They'll call it all sorts of things. But let me tell you something. It's American history. I could say, and I could justify saying it's Black history. But you know something? After May 25th, 2020, I've practically purged the language of Black history out of my vocabulary. I don't use it anymore because anything Black history in America is American history. That's what it is. And America is going to have to face the truth of its past and present. That history, you could burn all the books, burn all my stuff, right? But that history is in my soul, man. It's in my psyche, right? You got to kill me for that. But here's the problem. My kids got it. See, so even if you took me out, it's still here through my kids. It's still here through the students that I've educated over the years. It's still here through the adults that I've educated over the years, man. See, so you could burn the books, you could ban the books, right? But once somebody got it, I am that history. I'm it. I'm living it. But I wanted to share this one more thing before we get to our topic. Our topic is not this, but I'm sure it may come up. I just want to set the record straight real quick, y'all. Work with me. Hit the share button, hit the retweet button. Let them know we here, man. We here. Hit the repost button. Hit tag somebody. Let them know we here, man. We here. And by the way, someone might wonder what I'm wearing. Montreal Panthers. Some people don't know it was even Negro Leagues up in Montreal, Canada, man. So this is the Montreal Panthers. It was a Black team. It wasn't part of the Negro Leagues in America, but yet another team. This is not the jersey they wore. This is a alternative mesh summer jersey joint that I wear in the summer, right? But look here, y'all. I want you to. I'm not even going to give you the answer here. I want to just throw something at you. Just let this marinate for a second. Emancipation Proclamation, January 1st, 1863, right? January 1st, 1863. That's 87 years after the 4th of July. Let that marinate for a second. Like, what does all that Declaration of Independence language mean to an enslaved, to a captive African in America? What does that language mean 87 years later? Emancipation Proclamation. But let's go further. The Civil War ends April 9th, 1865. So between Emancipation Proclamation, Civil War ending, black folks supposed to be free. Let's look at it. Got this federal holiday called Juneteenth. I'm into Juneteenth, but I'm not into the federal holiday at all. Let me go on record with that. At all. Juneteenth, I'm with it, but I'm with it for people who live in Texas only. Yeah, I'm on record, y'all. When it comes to people in Texas, I'm with Juneteenth. But when it comes to me in Jersey, that's not my day. Let me talk about why, because I probably tripped somebody up on that one. The 13th Amendment was ratified on December 6, 1865. Hear that date again, December 6, 1865. That's 6 months after Juneteenth, but watch this. I'm wondering if I'm a Delaware citizen and I'm black. Delaware's captives, the enslaved, didn't receive their freedom until December 6, 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment. So how does a person living in Delaware celebrate Juneteenth when it had nothing to do with them? Because people, Juneteenth has been painted as Freedom Day for black people. Wasn't nobody free in Delaware. They're still enslaved, but that ain't the only state. Kentucky's enslaved population was not freed until December 6, 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment. How's somebody in Kentucky going to get excited about June 19th when for 6 more months that population is still enslaved? I'm down with Juneteenth, don't get me wrong, as I celebrate my Texas brothers and sisters. But as a national holiday, what are we talking about? And particularly in the context of the 4th of July. Let me keep going. It gets worse. And I'm just looking at my notes because we're recording this, and I want to make sure that I am on point. In the state of Mississippi, which one of my guests, Professor Chapman, is from, the 13th Amendment wasn't ratified until, you might need to brace yourself for this one if you didn't know this. Not 1865, not 1965, but the 13th Amendment wasn't ratified in the state of Mississippi until 1995. I'll say that again for someone who couldn't receive that or in denial. 1995, the 13th Amendment was ratified in Mississippi, but it wasn't certified until 2013. Let that resonate. Let me be quiet for a second. Let that resonate. The 13th Amendment was not certified in the state of Mississippi until 2013 in all of y'all's lifetime. Except if some little baby is watching. So I'm saying all that to say this, man. A conservative out there in the world, and you trying to deny all these young people of all this information, man. What, you don't want them to know the truth about America? I mean, we teach them the truth and then we just deal with it. But don't sweep it under the rug. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't ban the books. Don't burn the books. Don't say the authors are lying, because it's too much information out there on the internet alone. For the one that's a deep thinker, I mean, Carter G. Woodson said it best. I'm getting ready to stop, y'all, because I got guests today. But Carter G. Woodson said it best. When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or over yonder. he will find his quote unquote proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. That's Carter G. Woodson in 1933 from The Miseducation of the Negro. Come on, y'all. It's American history. I'm going to stop there because, Tammy, you right, man. That Holy Ghost is in me, and I got so much more, but I keep looking at my three guests. They down there. I ain't going to monopolize this thing, man. Oh, man, you see me rocking in this chair. Let me calm down, man. Let me calm down. Bring it down, Kafele. Bring it down. Bring it down. Hit that share button, man. Hit that retweet button. Those of you that logged on late, go back and check us out. Yeah, Speechless Principal Presley. That's what it is. 2013, Mississippi. The 13th Amendment was ratified. What is that telling you? When a state doesn't want to ratify an amendment that abolishes enslavement in America, what is that telling you, somebody? All right. I guess I ain't going to get invited to Mississippi no time soon. That's all right. Hey, y'all, let me go through these announcements real quick. To the first timers, welcome. I know it's a little different if those of you who are here because you heard me speak somewhere. Yeah, I'm home, man. I'm a little more raw when I'm home. You know, ain't nobody paying me to do this. You know, but it's still you're gonna be fed today. You were fed just now, actually, but you're gonna be fed by these three kings for daggone sure, right? So welcome to the first timers. If you missed. Obviously, you missed the previous 165 weeks, so just go to YouTube at the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. Hit the red little subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified every time we go live, man. So just binge watch all of them. 165 consecutive weeks. I have not missed a week. School Leadership Institute is in 2 weeks. Join me in Charlotte, North Carolina. I appreciate you, Dr. Tommy Mabry. Join me in Charlotte, North Carolina for 2 days for the Virtual AP Leadership Academy with Principal Kafele. Man, we going 2 days strong. It'll be myself solo, 9 to 4 both days, man, including you want to talk to me at lunch, let's wrap at lunch. You want to talk before we get started, let's talk before we get started. We talk over breakfast. You want to talk after we're done at 4 o'clock, we can go all night, man. Don't matter to me, right? So join me in Charlotte. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to the announcement section, click that register button, and I'll see you in Charlotte in 2 weeks for 2 days. Then join me at the Black Educators Rock Conference, July 13th through 16th. I won't be there the 13th and 14th or the 15th, but I'll be there the 15th, but I'll be there the 15th and 16th. So join me at the Black Educators Rock Conference in Jacksonville, Florida. Go to rockconference.org, rockconference.org. Everybody going to be there. As they say, everybody going to be there. So make sure that you register for that, and I can't wait to see you. Man, I appreciate y'all keeping this new joint, the Assistant Principal Identity, in Amazon's top 100 since it's been out. May 5th it came out. Appreciate y'all keeping it right there in that top 100. So in administration, those of you that don't have it, let's go. All right, you're AP, you're aspiring AP, let's go. If you're a principal but you got an AP, let's go, right? But then while you're there, pick this up too. Cop this one, the Assistant Principal 50. So the two go hand in glove. I won't even put the aspiring Principal 50 on here because I don't want to waste more time. But these are the two that coincide with the academy. So get your hands on both. But this one is brand spanking new. It's so hot, my hands are hurting. They're burning up my hands. So get yourself a copy of the Assistant Principal Identity, protecting your leadership mindset, fervor, and authenticity. And then lastly, make sure that you like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page, right? Enough of that, man. I got guests today, man. I told them I was going to go a little extra today, a little over. That's not extra, but a little over today because, you know, that 4th of July, man, that stuff be messing with my soul, man. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, hopefully you all can receive it the way it's meant to be received. 4th of July weekend messes with my soul. 4th of July messes with my soul. because we're talking about independence, but it wasn't the independence for Black people. The worst thing they could have done to me is allow me to read them history books, right? It changed me, right? And to know that for 87 additional years, Black people were still enslaved. This day, man, fireworks outside, people blowing up their hands and fingers, right? Little pop-up shots. I be feeling like going into them pop-up shots and just going I'll get ready to use the H word, going the heck off. I be feeling like just walking in them tents, man, and like, get this S out of my city, right? But it's so ingrained into the psyche and the culture that the people will probably turn on me, right? So not the business people, but the people that's in there buying that crap, so that they could blow it up. But when you know that history, man, you can't pick up no fireworks, man, because you ain't celebrating nothing, right? But if you don't know that history, it's easy to buy that stuff, man, and just all night long rockets going off, keeping everybody up at night, you know, because you don't understand what it is that you celebrating, man. You brainwashed, like Malcolm said, you hoodwinked. Right. So it messes with my soul. It messes with my energy. But I need to bring my guest up, man. So let me get my guest up here, man. Enough of this, right? Enough. Hey, brothers. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. I gotta come down, man. I gotta come down. I got the three kings, my brothers. I got the three kings on here. And we're going to get into what that all means, the three kings, and they go by the genius and the professor and the architect, and we're going to get into all that. But let me let you know who's in the building on this 166th session of the Virtual Leadership Academy. They didn't send me the page long bio, so I can get them all. I can get all three in, y'all. So I'm gonna start with Kina Walker. And he taught me about a year or so ago, because I was calling him in my mind Keene, and he said I could call him Keene because it looks like Keene, and everybody calls him Keene, but it's actually Kina. So Kina Walker, the genius, and as a transformational listener and leader, emboldened to leave a deep impact on this world, Walker graduated summa cum laude from he didn't put the, but I'm putting it there, the Alabama State University. He is the founder of Dare to Care LLC, where he provides speaking, consulting, and strategic educational services. A highly sought after speaker, author, and educational consultant, Mr. Walker has delivered his message of inspiration in connection with strategic civic action to organizations across the nation, with power-packed seminars across K-12 and secondary institutions. Mr. Walker has nearly 3 decades, hear this, 3 decades in direct practice teaching, designing and implementing youth and young adult program services. Walker is a community activist and certified gang education trainer, and he has been awarded many times over his commitment to the youth and civic engagement. Now I want y'all to hear this. Hear this, somebody. He has been recognized twice as a star teacher in Atlanta Metropolitan Schools and 4 times as Teacher of the Year from Alabama to Georgia. I gotta read that again, y'all. I really do. He has been recognized twice as star teacher in Atlanta Metropolitan Schools and 4 times as Teacher of the Year from Alabama to Georgia. That means he's teaching his butt off. That's what it means. He continues to share strategies and add value in his forthcoming book entitled 7 Secrets to Inspire and Empower Black Boys. Powerful. That's the genius. Now we're going to go to the professor, One Chapman. Those of you on Facebook, he's known as OC Chatman. This award-winning speaker and best-selling author is inspiring thousands across the nation. His writing, speaking, mentoring, and entrepreneur skills blend harmoniously to distinguish this visionary powerhouse in each arena. One has burst onto the literary scene with 2 best-selling books currently being used in school districts across the nation. Mr. Chapman's No-Nonsense Guide to Decision-Making for Teens and the No Bully Zone for Students. One is the author of 28 books. Let me go there. Let me do that one again. I want y'all to look at where it says Professor Chapman. Just take a look at that young man. He said 28. It says 28 books, but he barely looks 28 years old, right? So once again, it says Onay is the author of 28 books. As a speaker and consultant, he motivates thousands weekly through high-impact presentations and professional development trainings in schools, nonprofit organizations, parental engagement, seminars, community assemblies, and corporate-level entities. His academic achievements include attending the University of Mississippi. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice from the University of Phoenix. He also holds a Master's of Christian Education degree from the historic Morehouse School of Religion in Atlanta, Georgia. Onay was a Dean's List scholar his entire 3 years at the Morehouse. He holds several prestigious awards, such as the Gardner C. Taylor Award for Outstanding Leadership in Ministry, also the Carson Best Academy Mentorship Award for Outstanding Community Service. He's currently pursuing his doctorate in educational leadership. Onay is the founder and CEO of the Chapman Consulting Group, an educational consulting company specializing in educational training and professional development for K-12 schools and college and universities across the nation. He's also the visionary behind creating the Three Kings educational consulting model, which we'll get into. And then finally, the architect, Jeff Williams Sr. Jeff Williams Sr. is a renowned expert in leadership development and professional development for school administrators across the United States. With the passion for motivating and inspiring individuals to reach their full potential, Jeff has dedicated his career to changing the narrative and empowering others to aspire higher in life. With over 19 years of ministerial leadership, Jeff's extensive experience in guiding and mentoring others has shaped his approach to leadership. Let me bring Kina back up here. All right. Where was I? Okay, to leadership development. His unique blend of architectural, executive, and urban planning expertise, coupled with a specialization in community development, sets him apart as a multifaceted professional. Jeff's journey to educational consulting began with a significant turning point in his career. After leaving corporate America, he took on the role of Louisiana Field Director of Reentry Initiatives with Prison Fellowship. It was through this transformative work that Jeff's eyes were open to the concept of the school to prison pipeline, which we're going to be talking about. Recognizing the urgent need to address the systemic issue, he was compelled to enter the world of educational consulting, determined to play a role shutting down the pipeline and creating equitable opportunities for all students. During his tenure as Louisiana Field Director of Reentry Initiatives, Jeff spearheaded coalition building and reentry-based initiatives, gaining invaluable insights into the challenges of the criminal justice system and its impact on education. This experience further deepened his understanding of the importance of leadership development and professional growth within the context of educational institutions. Jeff's expertise in leadership development, coupled with his profound insights into the school-to-prison pipeline, uniquely positions him as a trusted advisor and advocate for educational administrators. By leveraging his diverse background and comprehensive understanding of the systemic issues, he empowers his clients to proactively address these challenges and create inclusion and supportive learning environments. And finally, with his unwavering commitment to social justice and educational equity, Jeff Williams Sr. continues to make lasting impact on school administrators nationwide. Great stuff, great stuff. Marcus Jackson is on here he's tuning in from the Essence Festival. I appreciate you tuning in. Somebody was trying to hook me up to speak there, Dr. Jackson, but I guess it didn't go through. Maybe next year. Let's go, y'all. Hey, Kina, I want to start off with you. You know, I read the bio. I read all three bios, and we got a sense of who the three of you are as it relates to the work. But I want to go deeper. You know, particularly when you consider all those awards you've achieved, and you know, for those that don't know, Kina does a lot of Facebook Live and with his students, and you know, we get to see him in action in the classroom. It's not just the post that I did this and I did that. He will literally zoom right into the classroom, and we get to see the magic come to life. So with that said, Kina, what as an educator, who is Kina Walker?
Wow. After that powerful introduction, as well as that Man, that piece you did in the beginning, I'm still sitting here, man. I gotta do it. This is Kina Walker. I'm checking the temperature of everybody on this day, baby. I always got my thermometer, the principal Kafele. That is who I am. What you see is what you get. Those awards do not even mount up to what you see on those lives every day. My Teacher of the Year awards come when I go into the hood, no matter where I am, Detroit, if I'm in California, if I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, if I'm in Newark, which I need to get to Newark also because I have my brother DeLacy Davis on here, who actually worked with me on a team called Voices. DeLacy brought me onto a team with brothers out of Newark, New Jersey to go to Bermuda and do work because he saw it instantly when we met in Atlanta at the historical Apex Museum on Auburn Avenue. But who am I? That is a great question, Principal Kafele, because I always preface myself when I start the year as an educator and not a teacher. Because teachers are people who pump in tons of content in order to meet state regulations. But educators, we extract greatness out of those students who most people have thrown away to the wolves. So if I had to settle it down, it's a great quote. It talks about education really is comprised of 90% computation and 10% problem solving. But I actually look at that in reverse. If you come to my classroom, it's 10% problem solving. 90% problem solving and 10% computation. Because all kids, they understand one thing. They know in my class, my mantra is, I'm not concerned about your answers. I'm only concerned about your questions. Nobody has ever learned anything just by giving answers because now with the onset of AirDrop and Chat GPT and everything, I can get the answers to stuff that I don't even look at. However, if you ask certain questions, I will know deeply down inside your core whether or not you're getting any understanding or whether you're just getting answers. So what I would close out with by saying, I live and die by the mantra, and all of your getting, get understanding. So even if you do not get the score that we need you to get by way of quantitative data in the system, my goal as an educator is to know that when you walk across that stage, you won't be at graduation without an education, because I've seen plenty of them go across that stage at graduation without an education, but you will know my students anywhere because the questions that they ask you. So that's who I am in the short, Principal Kafele.
I love it. And what I plan to do, I'm gonna stay with you for a little while on this first question, and then I'm gonna do the same with the other two brothers. So let's stay together for a minute. Kina, with everything you said, what's the motivation then for this work? Why 30 years? Why are you still doing this?
Well, when I went to school, initially I was a poli-sci major. I wanted to be an attorney. And just, man, fate would have it that one of my frat brothers, who was not my frat brother at the time, he told me about this education scholarship. And I said, I don't want to be an educator, man. I want to be a lawyer. But the out-of-state tuition started making me think about it a little differently, Principal Kafele. And I actually enrolled in these educational classes under the leadership of Dr. Vivian DeShia. God rest in power with Dr. Vivian DeShia, who poured everything she could into me. And she even sent me to one of the toughest schools in Montgomery, Alabama for my internship, which is right up the street from our school. And once I started just getting a taste of what education was, not schooling, a taste of what education was, I said, I believe I can be more impactful on this side of the law than I could be ever on that side of the law. Because a lot of babies who I'm looking at in these inner city schools, they grew up like me. I didn't plan to go to college until a Jegna of mine, mentor for the people who don't know what a Jegna is, he walked into my classroom and he said, Negro, you going to jail or hell. See, this is what education is. He didn't come in and say anything politically correct. He said, Negro, you're going to jail or hell if you don't change your lifestyle. And for the first time in my life, this is why I came up with this whole idea of I'm more concerned about your question. I said, what about college? He said, you won't live long enough to see college. And at that moment, no counselor is responsible for me going to college. That man asking me that question is why. So the reason I go so hard with this, Principal Kafele, because I'm in the heart of Atlanta, man. I'm over in Zone 3. We right off Cleveland Avenue, Jonesboro Road. All this YSL talk everybody's hearing about, Young Thug, Slime Life. Those are my babies. When they talk about Rolling 60s coming from Four Seasons, if you guys have been following on the internet, man, there's a dilapidated apartment complex that people thought were in a third world country. Those are my babies. So
Wow.
it means that I got to put it all on the line and go against the grain, so to speak, like I did in 2004 or 5. I lost my job for teaching too much Black history at a Black school with a Black principal. So this indoctrination you alluded to earlier, Principal Kafele, is still live and well. And what we plan to do when we talk about total transformation is to make people a little uncomfortable. And the message that I bring, it might not be a message that's palatable to everyone, because my goal is to ensure that the babies walk out of there with some tools that they can transfer into the real world. And if I did not do that, it doesn't matter to me if we had perfect test scores. I need to know that the test that my kids passed was the one that's going to prepare them for the real world that doesn't even exist yet, with AI doing what it's doing.
That's powerful stuff. That's powerful stuff. You know, in your bio, Kina, it says you are a transformational leader and listener. And that caught my attention. It intrigued me. I underlined it in the bio. I said, I got to ask him about this. What do you mean by a transformational listener?
See, everybody knows, Baba, because you are the GOAT in the speaking industry or whatnot. So everybody comes to hear you do what you do. When people come out to hear myself, Onay, Jeff speak, that's the speaking part. And what I realized was, I think I had kind of plateaued out as far as what I wanted to do as far as speaking. I could do that naturally. You could throw me on stage, Baba, if you said, hey, my throat is hurting, I need you to go on for 15 minutes to do what you do. Man, I'm going to have them so lit up that when you come out and say you on fire, they already can feel like they're 3 X's away from hell, because I'm going to have that thing lit up. I don't
Yes,
mind.
sir. Yes, sir.
On that stage, you put me behind Eric Thomas, put me behind Principal Kafele, I feel just as confident that I can do that speaking part. However, it dawned on me one day when a kid spoke to me and they were talking about cutting themselves. And they went real deep and showed me how they cut themselves. And this girl was in my AP US history class. The young lady right now is doing very well in her medical field. And when she had that conversation with me and I got through listening, she said, man, I appreciate all the advice you gave me, Ms. Walker, because nobody has ever actually understood where I was coming from. I had not done anything except for listening. And in that moment, I said, I want to learn to transform lives by listening, not being a sage on the stage. But if I could actually change that young lady's life so much through listening, I know that there's power in transformational listening. So that is where that actually originated from. And just this past weekend, I conclude, I had a young man who has anxiety. He's in my leadership institute this summer. He called me. He said, we're doing this book right here, The 48 Laws of Power. This is a heavy book right here.
Yeah.
But we're doing a book with teenagers. He said, Mr. Walker, I did my law last week, and everybody clapped for me and told me how well I did, but you told me all you heard was BS, BS, BS. I said, yes, sir, brother. I'm a speaker also. And what you did was you had the rhetoric of Frederick Douglass, but you had the fullness of a box Chevrolet in Georgia with no gas in the tank. So you so with that being said, that brother right there, questions, and we got the truth of it. He said, I said, that's what all Black folks in my school say, Ms. Walker, ain't even gonna lie. So when they say I ain't even gonna lie, they about to tell a lie or give you an excuse. So I talked to that young brother right there, and he finally admitted that I didn't understand the law. And I asked him, I said, what is your superpower? He said, what do you mean? I said, what are you good at? He told me, well, I don't really think I'm good at anything. I said, no, you are good at something, because, brother, you faked that thing all the way down to the doggone goal line, and you didn't understand the law. And I just went through several little steps with him, Kafele, and it was all said and done. He walked away from that thing engaged, inspired, and empowered, because all I did was listen to what he thought were his weaknesses, and I actually got away from that deficit model that most people do when they're talking to kids. And I just gave him something positive for everything that he thought was negative. So everything starts with the listening in a nutshell.
Love it. I got one more I want to throw at you. Star teacher twice, teacher of the year 4 times. I think most of us would be happy if we earned teacher of the year 1 time. And here you've got all these recognitions, which I like to call rings in the sports realm. My question to you, what is it that you're doing? And I'm using this question for the audience in terms of elevating their own practice to another level. What is it that you're doing that you got that you got 6 rings? What is that? How is that happening?
Well, first of all, I'll be real, I'll be relevant, I'll be brief, and I'll be seated. That's what I like to say when I come out on stage, when I know I'm about to go all the way up through there. So the students, man, know my mantra is raw and uncut in here. When you come in this room right now, man, I need you to keep that thing 1,000 with me. When you come in, if you struggle with reading, hey, I'm not a fool. Sometimes you walk in and all you got is a checklist of things that you're looking for in my room. I tell people it's hard to observe me in a classroom because it might look like I'm standing there and me talking to the kids. But I understand I'm using deductive reasoning skills based on that feedback they've given me. Like, you got hood cats who walk up to me at the class and just slide me a note, say, well, I ain't gonna lie, man, you know I can't read, so don't call on me in class. Okay, got that, check. What can you do? You know I'm good at drawing. So now I'm about to develop my heterogeneous group right now. And then I'm going to make sure that that brother right there is going to fall exactly where he or she needs to fall, because they have already kind of made me privy to what their strengths were and what their weaknesses are. In Kafele, I also like to take that same mindset and say, look, let's create some leadership, you know, position for Juju and Ray Ray and Kiki and all these folks right here, because we know Kiki is going to come in the first day talking about those doggone new wigs she been doing over the summer, because I follow her on Instagram. She's going to talk about her lace front and all that stuff. But since Kiki is so good, let's start doing some PSAs or whatnot in class and let Kiki realize her greatness or whatnot. And when it's all said and done, Kiki is going to come back and say, Ms. Walker, this is the only class in the building that I like, because I had to do some stuff, man, that requires a lot of front-end loading, which is me just listening to Kiki cuss the first week. That second week, Kiki, now look, now you know you're doing all that cussing in here. And then by that third week, when Kiki realized that, baby, you're a queen. You're not just Kiki, you're Queen Kiki. And I actually do a lot of work like that on Baba Kafele. And by me doing that work on the front end, I think it just makes way for me to pretty much draw those questions out of those students that's going to make them want to do more, learn more, but more importantly, make them want to become researchers. Because a lot of those young Negroes in my school district, I know it doesn't apply to everybody who's listening out here, assistant principals and principals, teachers to your school district. But in my school district, those young Negroes like to do search. They go to that first link on the top of that Google search, and if they don't find what they're looking for, the search is over. And I tell them the prefix re means to go back or to do again. So if you didn't find what you need on that first link, you have to go back and search again. And I will give them books like this right here, Bob, and I conclude. I give them books like the 50th Power right here. So we've already referenced the 48 Laws of Power, but this is 50 cents right here. And we'll start talking about 50 cents, 50 laws of power. This is just stuff that connects with them. Then I come back when they talk about Tupac faked his death. I actually give them the book, The Prince. Well, we're talking about the real Machiavelli. So now it digs deeper, like, so maybe Tupac is not dead. Now you're not basing this on your feelings. You're using deductive reasoning from text, this site-based evidence that I'm doing. But if you walk into that room and you just using your checklist, I might look like I'm not on the standard. I might look like I'm not trying to keep up with the pacing guide. But for the people who are the most important stakeholders in the space, I have given them everything they need to make them nurturing and more well-prepared citizens to go out into the world and do the things that you alluded to earlier in your introduction.
Whew. Hey, to the audience out there, I had Zaretta Hammond on here, as you know, not long ago, but I also had her on a different platform that I haven't been using lately, as Kina was on there as well. And Zaretta said something that kind of stunned me. And I've kind of lived it since she said it. And I want to share that before I move on, Kina. She said, presenters need to stop telling audiences to turn and talk. She said instead, because see, her research is brain science. She said instead, they need to be given an opportunity to just sit there and process what they just heard. So I'm saying that to say this. All that what you just heard, I'm talking to the audience right now. I know you need to, before I bring up Onay, I know y'all need to just sit there like,
take it
in. Okay. Transformational listener, huh? Okay. That's a little different, right? I get it. You know, so, but the beauty is y'all can watch the film later on, to take the video later on. So, you know, but I just wanted to say that because that was powerful. You know, Zaretta's, her whole thing is brain research. So, you know, she's got a perspective that I just don't have. My man, Onay, the professor. Sir. I got to ask you the same question. As an educator, Onay, Professor, OC, who is Professor Chapman?
Oh, man, Professor Chapman is a young man born in rural Mississippi to 14-year-old parents. who has made it his mission, to live a life of purpose. Every day when I get up, I'm living on purpose. I never wake up with doubt trying to walk in my assignment every single day. So I started the Young King School here in my city of Tupelo, Mississippi. And it all started with a dream, an actual dream. I was in a dream, and in the dream, I get a call, and a young man on the other end says, God has a message for you. I'm like, okay, God has a message for me. Okay. What is that message? And the voice comes back and said, these boys need a hero. So, when I wake up, I'm saying a hero. I've heard of mentor. I've heard of, somebody that walks along with you, all these different things. But a hero, me, I'm thinking, me, the hero, but as I began to process it, it all became, it came to life for me. And when we was able to launch the Young Kings, we were able to see so many transformations happen from the work that we were able to do. My very first guest are the other two guys you're looking at right here.
Yeah.
The three kings
Yeah.
were the very first guests at the Young King School. And so it has been powerful. So I'm a person that wakes up every day on purpose. One of my former professors, Dr. Mark Lomax, told us a story one day in class. He said he was talking to a homeless man, and he said he asked the homeless man, what's the worst thing about being homeless? And the man does not say, is the worst thing is I can't take a shower. The worst thing I don't have shoes. The worst thing I don't know where my daily meal is going to come from. The man says, the worst thing about being homeless is that nobody will look me in my eyes. Mm. In other words, so people look at you, but they don't see you. So my goal every day is to stop looking at black boys and start to see them. And if I can get people to start to actually see them, then we can do as my brother just said, awaken that genius on the inside of them. But too many times people only look at our boys, but they don't see them. And that's all the homeless man was saying, was that people walk by me every day. They look at me, but they never see me. Mm-hmm. And so my goal is to see these boys, to really get to know them, to build a relationship, to who is your mom? Who is your dad? Who is your grandfather? What are you reading? What are you studying? What do you do on the weekend? I'm trying to build that relationship, because if I can do that, then they will come back 20 years later and say, you changed my life. Wow. And so I'm not just trying to look at you, I'm trying to see you. And so that's who I am. I'm a person that lives every day trying to see these boys.
I love it. Hey, folks, hit that share button, hit the retweet button, hit the repost button, all 5 platforms. Let folks know that we are here, we are live, and we just in the beginning. Hey, One, so with that, what is it about what you do that keeps your fire raging?
Oh man, it's understanding. Every presentation I do, I take the book Miseducation of the Negro. You would never see me do a presentation with black children where I do not take that book. And the reason I do that is because it was not introduced to me. And so I refuse to allow this book not to be seen and heard and lived out through these next generation of students. And so what keeps me going, what gives me the drive, is knowing that we've been indoctrinated in somebody else's culture instead of our own. That somebody else has come in and taken, what we so brilliantly built, repackaged it, and gave it back to us, watered down wholesale. And so what I want to always do is to make sure that I'm empowering young students, right? Make sure that every time I stand in front of them, I'm giving them the knowledge. And that's why I love when my boy Keene comes in and present. He brings a stack of books, right? I was like, bruh, I thought I was the only one that presented like that. Like what you literally put 10 books up on the stand. They like, what is he going to do with this stack of 10 books? Like, I'm going to use that every single time, because what I need you to see. So I'll put Mr. A.G. Gaston up there. I got that one from Kina Walker, the Black Titan. I want you to know who these people are, because it's hard to be what you cannot see. Whew. It's hard to be what you cannot see. And so if I can get you to see it, right? Magic Johnson said, I was born poor, but I never dreamed poor. I was born poor, but I never dreamed poor. So if I can get you to dream higher, right? Even if you're dirt poor, I don't want you to dream poor. And so if I can put these books in front of you and put these different people in front of you, I understand, look, you're going to take that thing to the next level, right? And so that's what fuels me.
I love it, man. I don't go too many places. See this. I saw the picture. I saw you on Facebook, Onay. You had that one of them new joints. See this the old Malcolm X Boulevard, Harlem, New York City Liberation Bookstore. DeLacy, you know what I'm talking about. Liberation Bookstore owned by Miss Una Mozak back in the 80s, right? And I don't let nobody touch this. You can't. You can touch all my books. You can't touch this one, right? Hey, Onay, in your bio, and I'm gonna read this. It states that you burst onto the literary scene with 2 best-selling books currently being used in school districts across the nation: Mr. Chapman's No Nonsense Guide to Decision Making for Teens and the No Bully Zone for Students. I want you to talk to us because as we were saying off camera, the core audience here. It's assistant principals, aspiring principals. So I want to craft some of these questions into something that leader can say, okay, I can use that and take it back to my school. So with that decision making for teens, talk to us about the significance of the decision making process for teens.
Well, the significance is that no matter what school district I went into, no matter, what principal I sit down with, they all had the same problems. They all had the same issues. They would say, hey, we need something to help these students make better decisions. And the reason I have so many books is not just to say I got 28 books, right? The thing happened was no matter where I went, I would go in and they wouldn't have material that looked like the children I was teaching for that day. And so that's why if you look at all my covers, I put Black children on the cover, right? Because once again, it's hard to be what you cannot see. Yeah. And so if I can get you to see a picture of your face on the cover that talks about decision making, then you can begin to identify that, okay, this is for me, right? Because what I had to learn was that many times in our educational system, we're always on the periphery of education, but we're never the subject. And so my job is to bring us from the periphery to the actual subject. And so if you can look at yourself on that cover and see that, okay, this is about decision making, and I can give you an actual playbook that I wish somebody had given me. And so on the inside is the actual playbook. Social awareness, self-awareness, self-management, positive decision making. What do you do when you're faced with this type of situation, right? So I'm giving you all the plays that you need. All you got to do is run the play. I'm giving you the play. All you got to do is run the play. And so that was the impetus behind that.
So let's stay there for a second. So let's get into the beyond the book now in terms of the topic, decision making. Why is that so relevant to one of these leaders that's watching right now? The act or the process of good decision making, and give me an idea of what one of these leaders may be able to do when they get back to school in August and September.
Well, what makes it relevant is the fact that a lot of times in our community, we don't have anyone to teach us emotional intelligence. So we just saw a situation where a young man is in a restaurant in Chicago. He's arguing back and forth with the woman. He hits the woman. A 14-year-old son comes in and kills him, right? What if he was taught emotional intelligence? What if he was taught that you have to know what you're doing with your hands, keep your hands to yourself because somebody may make sure you never use those hands again, right? So that's why decision making is so powerful because it lends itself to the whole castle wheel of social and emotional learning. And those are the skills that we're simply not getting. We're going to school, we're getting the math, the science, the reading, we're getting all of this, but nobody does a class for young men how to be emotionally intelligent. And if I am in this restaurant, it may be best just to back off and say, sister, hey, go ahead and order your food. Everything is cool. Somebody step on my shoes, I don't get the fighting, which can get me killed because you stepped on my pair of white shoes. Yeah. Right. So all these things are important when it comes to decision making, because that's emotional intelligence, and that's what we need more of. That's what the entire Young Kings model is teaching emotional intelligence to young boys, because I feel like we don't get those skills enough.
I love it. You know, when I during my principal days on this is just personal for me. The words attitude and the word attitude and the word decision. I had deemed, and I still believe this to this day, in the education space, these are the two most critical words: attitude, decision. Why those two? Well, if my attitude is not right, then the achievement's not going to happen. That's why I talk about the attitude gap versus the achievement gap, right? So if I and the collective I, we can transform the attitude of young people as they walk in and throughout the time they're there, then there's a higher probability that achievement will follow. But then that word decision, I could have a great attitude, but I make the wrong life decisions.
Yep.
And then therefore negates my attitude that was so positive. So all over the building, everywhere you walk, on the walls and hanging from the ceiling, were the words attitude, decision, attitude, decision. All 4 stories, because, you know, up north we go high, y'all are flat down in the south. And you couldn't miss them. And then I'm reminding them on a regular basis, your attitude, your decisions, just reinforcing. And I know definitively now, because now they're in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and they'll hit me back up on Facebook. Kafele, man, them 2 words, they matter. Attitude, decision. And that's why I wanted to harp on that with you, that word decision, man. Decision making, because as you just said, it's so critical. Appreciate that. Let's go. Hey, Jeff, I got the same one for you. As an educator, who is Jeff Williams Sr., the architect?
Well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to my brothers, man. They're already on fire. Before I even get into it, man, you can feel the energy and the passion from my brothers. Shout out to my team, man, or whatever. Keene has got his temperature. He's taking the temperature over there. I got this light. If y'all can see that is heat. It's a lot of heat going on in here, man. But hey, so glad to be here. But who is Jeff Williams Sr., the architect? I am first and foremost at all times a Black man. I am a Black man who is a husband of a wife, my wife Renee, of 19 years. I'm a father of 4 beautiful Black boys. I am a minister for 19 years and a former executive who is a professional firefighter and storm chaser. And I'm not saying that I'm actually a firefighter. I'm saying I chase fires, I chase storms. I left my comfortable corner office in corporate America because I saw a problem that was going on in the state of Louisiana with our criminal justice system, and started a nonprofit organization to attack the fires that were starting in the state of Louisiana, because I just found out from going into the prisons and ministering to people in the prisons that Louisiana incarcerates more people per capita than anybody in the world. I found out that our recidivism rate was higher than anybody else's per capita in the world. And many people just like to talk about the fire. Many people just like to talk about the storms. I run to fires. I run to storms. So I left my comfortable corner office in corporate America, wearing my suit and tie every day, and I went into the prison industry here in the state of Louisiana, where it is the worst of the worst. And I said, how can we bring solutions to this problem? I left that. I saw when I got into that, we were having significant growth, significant development here in the state of Louisiana. We dropped the recidivism rate by nearly 30% over a 7-year period of time. We finally, for the first time in the history of the state of Louisiana, were not ranked 50th in the United States in criminal justice reform. But we dipped down to 48, still not great, but it was the first time in history we were not absolutely the last. But I saw another problem. I heard about the school to prison pipeline. I realized that as many people that I was trying to help inside the system, I found out that 8 out of 10 of the kids who did not graduate in the state of Louisiana were actually going to prison. I also found out that about 70 to 75% of their kids, of those people who went to prison, their kids also went to prison. So I was chasing another storm. I said, how do I get involved in being a solution-based guy? How do I get involved? How do I chase that storm, chase that fire? How do I get involved? Put my name. I don't just want to complain about things. You know, people spend a lot of time complaining about things. Jeff Williams Sr. is someone who says, I hear you loud and clear that there's a problem. Now let's interpret the problem. Let's understand that problem. And let's put together a game plan of how we're going to attack that particular problem. I call myself the architect because I was the vice president of an architecture firm. But the reason I took on the nickname of the architect is because an architect is someone who is qualified to design a building and then supervise the construction of that building. And they take into consideration all of the constraints involved in the building process. So when we start talking about school transformation, I'm the architect. I'm the one who comes in with my brothers and my team and I say, hey, tell me where you want to go. When you tell me where you want to go, I'm going to tell you, now let's discuss the constraints that will prevent you from getting there. But we're not just going to discuss constraints. We're going to talk about how we're going to move past, or better yet, move through those constraints, because Jeff Williams Sr. is also a habitual winner. I am obsessed with winning. I am obsessed with success, in particular in places where people don't think that we can win. So when someone says that our Black boys can't be educated, Jeff Williams Sr. says, hey, sign me up. I believe, give me the worst ones in the building. I believe that we can transform their way of thinking. And I believe once we transform their way of thinking, that we can transform every other aspect of their lives. I'm the one who says we have to find a way. Our kids need someone who will stay in the fight for them until we find a solution and put them in a situation where they can win, not only in education, but in life. And that's who Jeff Williams Sr. is.
And see, that speaks directly to when I mention those two words, Jeff, attitude, decision. And see, you're talking about, look, whatever the odds are, whatever the obstacles are, give me those young people, right? Because of your attitude. And imagine the masses of folks, education and beyond, maintain the attitude that I got this, because that's essentially what you said. I got this, right? When we got that I got this attitude, and then we make the right decisions along the way. So I'm going to grow professionally however I need to grow, rooted in my attitude. We increase the probability that those young people are going to, in fact, be successful. I love it. So with that, Jeff, you know, and my second question you answered, so I'm gonna move on. You wouldn't know that, but what is it that, with everything you say, what is it that keeps the fire within you raging? Because I feel that flame.
Right. Well, it's the job not being done yet. I am motivated every single day when I get up. I turn the news on. I see another young man, another young woman who is struggling with life, who is in an educational system that was not created really for them to have success within that system. Every time I see a young person or an older person who is struggling with life, who is not winning, who is not having success, I am motivated that there's still yet more work to be done. And I'm not just motivated, but I'm also activated, because a lot of people get motivated, they get inspired, but they don't get to the point. They're not motivated or inspired to the point of activity or to action. I'm motivated and inspired every day to the point of action, even when it's adverse action. You've heard everybody on this broadcast already. Principal Kafele, you spoke about being suspended. Keene talked about being fired. I had to really walk away and step away from jobs. Wasn't fired, but I was on the verge of being fired because I would not let it go. I would not quit pushing the envelope and pushing the issue. And so I'm just motivated that the work is not done. As long as there's more work to be done, as long as not everyone has the total amount of success that we believe they should have, then I'm motivated that there's still work to do, and I want to do my part in that work.
You know, you expressed an interest and an expertise in leadership development.
Yes, sir.
And I think I share the same interest and expertise, and hence this platform. That's what this is all about. Just, my free time on a Saturday morning, and then my free time all week, putting the questions together. But just that interest, and I would hope, an expertise in developing leaders, right? So talk to us about the leadership development that you do. What does it entail? And what are the takeaways for the folks who are watching this morning?
Right. Well, first and foremost, again, my nickname is the architect. So when I'm coming in to do professional developments, we're talking about how do we build? How do we totally transform this school? How do we embark upon the process of total transformation? And by doing so, I use my expertise and background in architecture to say, I come in and ask questions to the educators like, okay, if we were going to build the perfect school that you want to see from ground up, tell me what you think the first process would be in the building process. 85 to 90%, most of the time, more than that, the educators will tell me the foundation is the first thing that we have to build. But in my professional developments, I use my expertise and background to tell them that when you open up a set of blueprints or a set of plans, the first page is not the foundation page. The first page is the site plan. The first page, we have to come out and survey the land. So when we come in to do a professional development, the first thing I want to do is I want to come in and ask you 2 questions. Who are you and where do you want to go? I need to know, who are you? Do you have an identity? If you don't have an identity, then we have to begin there. We have to begin at the point of origin, which is you have to have an identity. You tell me who you are. Now tell me where you want to go. When you tell me where you want to go, I call that beginning with the end in mind first. If we're going to go on vacation, the vacation is not relevant to us until we choose the end destination. Where is it that we're trying to go? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you develop the plan of action to get you from where you are as who you are today to where you want to be in the future, or where you want your school to be in the future. We're going to give you a step-by-step action itemized list that you can take today and begin to implement the process of transformation in your school. We're not going to come in and speak to you about issues and problems and stats and data that you already know. Educators already know what the problem is. So when we come in for professional developments, we're coming in with a solution-based mindset. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are. Tell me where you want to go. And we're going to build you a step-by-step process on how to get there.
Man, I love that. It sounds so similar, when I talk to folks about just their overall leadership planning. I say you can't talk about the goal. You can't talk about the strategy until you have first dissected your situation, right? And what I call it a situation analysis, just analyzing where you are right now. Where am I now? Because see, sometimes we set goals that are so unrealistic because we haven't assessed where we stand. And if we assess where we stand, that goal, it's attainable, but not right now. There's some steps that we may have to take in order to get to that long range goal. So I love all of that. You also expressed an interest in the school to prison pipeline.
Yes, sir.
And I'm thinking about these leaders watching and the challenges and the trials and the tribulations and the struggles of being a school leader, being a district leader. So 2-parter, tell us, for those it may not be clear exactly what that language means, what is the school to prison pipeline according to Jeff Williams? And what are steps that a leader can take to avoid young people within their school of being a part of that school to prison pipeline?
Well, to me, school to prison pipeline, in the simplified terms, it simply means that those students who we do not educate and get to the graduation stage, a large percentage of them will go to prison. Like I said, here in the state of Louisiana, a few years ago, pre-pandemic, the data supported that 8 out of 10 students that did not graduate were going to prison. It was as if we could go through the halls of the school, line the kids up, count them out, and every 8 out of every 10, we could just say, hey, if you don't make it to graduation, we can take you to the parish prison, or we can take you to the state penitentiary today because you're going to go to prison. And as I said, the data also supported that once someone went to prison, 70 to 75% of their kids went. So in essence, the school to prison pipeline is when we don't properly educate these kids and get them to graduation, get them equipped for the next phase of their lives. It's in essence like wiping out 3 generations of a family. It's like sending 3 generations of a family to the prison system if we don't properly educate these kids and get them to the graduation line. And the way we have to do that is we have to do it by what you see on this broadcast today. It has to be a collaborative effort. It has to be a collaborative effort. One of the things about the building process, and the reason I like to use those analogies, is because as an owner, when you're building something, you have your design team. The design team puts together the blueprint. Then you also have the people who are contractors and subcontractors who come in to help you build that thing. You can't be on an island in it with yourself trying to get someone to the graduation line. You have to understand that we are all in this together. So I need educators to first and foremost understand that we have got to be a team with a clear and concise vision in this school for where we're trying to go. And we have all got to use our gifts, our talents, and whatever else we can muster up to get these kids properly educated and to the graduation line. Do it by keeping them, first of all, on campus. The very first professional development I did, I went in and I was going over school performance scores with the school, and I was comparing their score, which was an F grade at the time, to schools who had A and B grades. I found out that the test scores and the GPAs were relatively the same. What was separating them was the amount of kids that they were both suspending and expelling. And so we started with action items like saying, listen, if it is not a district regulated rule, that means that this kid has to automatically be suspended or be expelled. If it's not written in black and white that if you do this particular disciplinary infraction, you have to be put out of this school, then I need for you to deal with the problem here on campus. That may be easier said than done, but it is critical that we keep them here because we cannot educate a student that's not on campus.
Let me, I want to throw this question at you before I go back to Kina. You use this language, properly educate, a couple of times.
Yes, sir.
Give us an example of what you mean by that. I have my own examples, but I want to hear from you. What are you saying when you say properly educate a young person?
What I'm saying when I say properly educated is I'm saying that this kid is adequately equipped both academically and in life skills. What One talked about, emotional intelligence. We are preparing them for life, and we're using education as the platform or the vehicle in which we do it. But if they can't just know algebra, social studies, science, and English, that's great. But they also have to know how to survive in the world. If not, then what they learn in the school is not going to carry over from Friday afternoon until Monday morning. We lose so many students from Friday afternoon to Monday morning because we're educating them in the math, the sciences, the English, in the STEM technology, and all of these things, but we're not giving them enough life lessons to know how to survive inside and outside the building.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, Kina, let me go back to you now. I want to stay with this whole topic of school to prison pipeline on this, and I want to ask you what is it about the power of the classroom teacher that has the potential of shifting the reality of the school to prison pipeline for young people? Unmute yourself. Kina, unmute.
Yes, sir. I apologize about that. First of all, great question. I think the big takeaway from all of this, after hearing what Jeff was just saying and trying to marry it together with the question, is that we're in the trenches, man. I just pulled out a book that I like to reference a lot of time when you're talking to kids. It's just about Southern football. Man, there's a whole bunch of quotes in there. What about the classroom? It's like the dressing room. Your parents can't hear what that coach is saying in Southern football when you go off that field at halftime. So there are a lot of times when you are rubber to the road, you got your boots to the road, you get a chance to hear about those kids who are telling you, hey, Miss Walker, man, I had to take care of 5 kids last night or whatnot. I hear what you're saying about I need to get out the trap, I need to get off the block or whatnot. If defects find out that my mama has been gone for 2 weeks, there's no way in the world we're going to be able to stay together. So that's my bird's eye view right there as a classroom instructor, because by the time they make it to you guys as Principal Kafele, and all the administrators out there, oftentimes you're getting the edited version of the story. In that room, they're giving us the raw and uncut version of it. It hadn't been mixed down. There's no chaser on it. You getting it raw and uncut, and that's when we have to do what you said to your audience earlier. Hey, check this out, man. We can't even talk about that. That's so heavy right now. I need time to process what you just told me. So I introduced a book by Jim Quick to my students this year about limitless. upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock exceptional life. That's a brain.
Time out real quick. As you keep throwing them books up, because I know what they're going to do. They're going to be putting all these comments saying, will you put, what's that title again? Hold them books up to that screen so they can see it. Because my audience takes them book titles seriously, man. Hold that up so they can see that. Yeah.
And so I actually, I guess I'm married to the same culture that you, O'Neill, and quite sure Jeff is connected to. The miseducation of a Negro, you don't even need to bring me to your school. You don't need to bring me to your organization. If you do not know Carter G. Woodson's teachings, because everything I'm going to talk about, he cites it in his book. He said that unless the Negro drops out of school before he finishes his formal education, he may be able to recover from his illness. And I'm paraphrasing it right there.
Recover.
Yes. So with that being said, but most people never heard of this one, Principal Kafele. In order to understand education of the Negro, you have to understand the education of the Negro, because we're coming in and we're not going to start with that deficit standpoint where everybody talks about the Negro who was enslaved. If you're going to do that, right now we're starting out in the Bible with the light before we talk about the darkness. And it's going to be those two things up. So as a classroom instructor, I get a chance, like I say, to check the temperature every day. And oftentimes when you come into that classroom, you got your rubric that you're grading us on. But if one of my babies tell me that their homeboy just got shot in the head last night, my whole lesson plan just shifted for the next 2 days. My career framework just shifted because I understand now we cannot talk about that 80% Jeff is talking about when they're coming from neighborhoods where trauma is real. I saw my homeboy get shot and killed. In Kafele, I'll just say this, had a girl to come to class one day, she said, well, hey, we doing a micro teaching live. She said, hey, here's the boy right here. They let him lay it on the ground for 5 hours right there in Oxford Village, which is some apartments right up the street from my school, the OB. I said, hold on, children were walking home from school and they saw this dead body? She's like, yeah, the body was out there for 5 years, so I get a chance to jump all the way down into the psyche. I get a chance to be like the most empathetic educator they've ever had the opportunity to work with. And here's that transformational listener. So where do we go now? Nate Chapman said it, emotional intelligence. Kafele, I'm loaded, man. I can't get my hand. But we got to deal with emotional intelligence. And I don't think there's no one more prepared in this nation to deal with emotional intelligence, because we got a team of psychologists and counselors that we roll with as well who will be tied into this 3 Kings. But I am the greatest at extracting out all of those issues that my students got and finding a way to like marry it into the curriculum. But if you see it from the outside looking in, you think we're just in there talking. So that's why I think the classroom educator who has his boots or her boots to the ground, there has to be some kind of marriage that's formed, leadership team. There has to be a marriage between the administrative team, and there has to be a marriage between those teachers who are not on those leadership teams and whatnot, being able to let them know like what the storms are. Since Jeff is a storm chaser, man, you got to listen to the people who are on the ground. When 9/11 happened in New York City, we needed to know what was going on from the ground. That's what the newscasters say. So I think I am, the other 2 kings on the line, we are prepared to chase the fires and go in and give information to students from the ground, not looking up, from an aerial view.
It's interesting when you have a conversation with a leader about leadership, you're going to get whatever response you get. But when you have the same topic of conversation with a teacher, they're going to see it through a very different lens, their own experiential lens, and they're going to respond according to what it is they do. So I want to stay with you, Kina, on this, and I want you to think about this. You're in the school as a classroom teacher, and as a matter of fact, let me do it this way, Kina. Let me take this out of your building. Like, so this is not you as teacher in your school. This is you in your consulting realm, right? Because I don't like to get people and put them in an awkward situation with their school. So their place of employment. So here you are consulting, but you have a teaching background, and you see the leadership through that lens of a classroom teacher. So now my question to you, what would you say if you had an opportunity, which you obviously do in your consulting business as the 3 Kings? What are your words to a school leader, an assistant principal or principal, in terms of how do we eradicate the school to prison pipeline in our school from the vantage point of the leaders? Like, what is it that they need to do? Not the teacher now. I want you got a room full of, you got 200 principals in front of you. And they looking for answers because they see their kids being handcuffed in the building and escorted out to the squad car. They see it. What would you tell that leader, that group of leaders?
So first of all, I have this activity I like to do when I'm speaking with school leaders because they are the leaders. We got to respect them for who they are, whether we agree with their styles or not. But this activity is called vent. And I love this because those school leaders, when they hear the word vent, they're ready to talk about how half of their staff don't clock in on time and so on and so forth. And they're right. They want to talk because we get a chance to talk as a collective about them. But they are sitting up here in this little cocoon, and it's like 4 of them or 5 of them, and it's 100 of us. So those leaders, they like, I'm glad somebody came in and gonna let us vent. But then, Brother Kafele, I actually on the whiteboard, I draw a line between the V, a line between the E, a line between the N. You know, you got V separate, E, N, T. And I asked them, hey, let's voice your concerns, man.
Okay.
That you feel like are actually causing you guys to lose these students, whether it be to the juvenile system or to lose them to the streets. Let's talk about that. And now, if you notice, I'm taking a different tone. I'm bringing my tone down so there's nothing that lends weight to me being a classroom educator because I'm here to talk to the administrators. And then once they all voice their concerns, we're documented on the whiteboard or whatnot. Then I ask them, give me some specific examples of whatnot. And, you know, in the case of like a lot of the students and leaders and administrators in the inner city, they might talk about a recent murder or something that child, you know, was caught up in and it spilled over into their building. How are we going to deal with this? So now we got some examples. Then we move over to the end. Now that we know, so as the leader, you voice your concerns, you've given me examples. Now that we know, let's deal with now that we know. Because we can't just gripe about this right here. How do we actually transfer that into the grassroots level where the teachers can know what you guys kind of got concerns about and let them know we can't do all 100 of these things this school year. We're going to pull two of those things that we voiced our concerns about. We're going to anchor down, like Jeff Wade said earlier, O'Neill alluded to this right here, because we know emotional intelligence is something that, you know, is killing our babies. They're making poor decisions. We got to do something. We got to take action. We can't depend on the district to come in and do this. We got to take action. And if Newark, New Jersey is like I heard it was, if Atlanta, Georgia is like most of you guys have probably heard it was, if it's like that in Chicago, now we got to take action. What type of action do you prefer we take as a leader? And I will suggest to them after they've gone through each of those steps, telling me about the action steps they're going to take. Now we got to roll this out to the step. But we can only roll it out by trying to use 2 of those things that we had the most pressing concerns about. That's what I know about it, Principal Kafele, to get them to see. You guys grapple with it as administrators, but then you rolled it out once y'all clean it all up, and you got, like Jeff said, you got to collaborate. You can't have this 10-pronged vision for the school year when the teachers are still responsible for not only those state things, taking attendance every day, calling parents, doing this stuff, because we're going to feel like now you just added an extra piece of meat to our plate instead of giving us something that's going to deal with whatever the concerns are that you have. So I would say find you 2 things once you vent and then attack that in collaboration with the rest of your staff.
That's good stuff. I love it. I love it. Hey, O'Neill, before I get to you, I do this right somewhere halfway all the time. The Virtual AP Leadership Academy is sponsored by the Assistant Principal Identity. Hey, y'all, if you don't have a copy of this book, get yourself a copy. You can go to Amazon right now, right, and order your copy. But one of our guests, O'Neill Chapman, is an author of 28 books. This is his newest book, Backboards Over Books. Once again, Backboards Over Books. Let me read this subtitle. Why Black Boys Love Sports but Hate School, and what parents, educators, and youth advocates can do about it. So on Amazon right now, y'all, let me uncover his name. So on Amazon right now, Backboards Over Books. That's O'Neill Chapman, Professor Chapman. This is his newest of the 28 books that he's written. Get your hands on it. All right, let's go. You know, O'Neill, it's interesting. You know, we look at achievement of Black students in school. We look at this perennial achievement gap and other gaps. And one of the things that I've always said to my staff and to anybody that was willing to listen, I cannot blame Black children for being victims of and products of an educational system that was not designed to properly educate them.
Mm-hmm.
I can never, ever point my finger at them for a lot of those performances I see. However, I still got to hold them accountable for being successful, but I got to hold myself and staff collectively accountable for properly educating them. So my question to you, my final thought to you about that before I go to the question, I've therefore, and this is a big capital letter, therefore, got to teach them how to maneuver through this web of this miseducation that countless of them are exposed to. Here's my question. What might, according to One Chapman, Professor Chapman, what might the maneuver, what might that look like if youngsters are going to survive a pre-K to 12 educational system that, again, didn't have them in mind when it was designed?
Great question. So I formed that book based upon the premise. So I have this thing I like to do in my presentation that said everybody in the building is at risk. Because a lot of times we see these presentations and the at risk is always attached to the student. Well, I like to say that the educator is also at risk. So the student is at risk of being miseducated, and the educator is at risk of miseducating the student. So everybody in the building has a collective responsibility, right, to get this thing right. Understanding that the system was not even created for us to be successful. And so, man, I went back and I started to dig into my master thesis project while I was there at Morehouse. I pulled Dr. Jawanza Kenjufa, who's done this work for 45 years. I pulled Asa Hilliard. I pulled Dr. Malevia Asante, right? I pulled all these great scholars because I wanted to know what they were saying about the education of Black boys, right? And that gap that's happening. And so even in the book, I put Dr. Jawanza Kenjufu's work where he went out and studied thousands of Black students to see, and he noticed that around 5th grade was when the drop-off began to happen. Somewhere around that 4th to 5th grade, he says their attention span drops, right? The grades drop, the enthusiasm drops, all these different things drop. And then I said, okay, it's simply because we're always on the periphery, but we're never the subject. In other words, it's hard to get me to have total buy-in to an educational system that I don't see myself in. I don't see myself, right? And so whenever I'm out speaking, I'll tell Black boys, I say, raise your hand, tell me what you want to be. It never fails. At least 98% of the boys I'm talking to say NBA or NFL. So I begin
any hip hop?
Yeah, a little bit of that thrown in too. But they all are the next LeBron James. They're all the next Pat Mahomes, right? And so I had to begin to ask myself this question. What is it that makes us feel like we own sports, but we get on life support in the classroom? What is this that the same boy that you just saw so enthusiastic as he ran that touchdown, right? He feel like he's the greatest athlete of all time. He's the smartest person on the field. Why is that not translating into the classroom? And I was doing a presentation and some young ladies came to me and they said, Mr. Chapman, you asked us why we don't sit and listen when we go to school the same way we sit and listen when you teach us. She said, if you was our teacher, we would listen because you teach us about real life. I said, wow. Okay. Begin to put all these things together. Once again, that SEL piece, that's my thing. I'm going to always go back there. It's putting in those SEL lessons, that social awareness, right? That self-awareness, that self-management, letting them know that education is for you, not just running a touchdown. I know you love when they call your name over that intercom, right? But what if we called your name in the classroom and told you how excellent you were? What if we taught you that you were a genius in the classroom, not just on the basketball court? So you hear people say, hey, he has a high basketball IQ. But when he gets in the classroom, they see him as low IQ. What if I told you, as Mr. Jeff Williams is going to say, that Kobe Bryant studied geometry to learn basketball? And every angle he's taking on that court is geometry. He's doing math on the court.
That's right.
Right? What if I taught you that, and then you would begin to see, okay, math is for me. Math is real life. Me learning to read is real life. Understanding that we're reading, our boys are reading at about 13% proficiency nationwide. So I'm seeing 18-year-old boys reading on a second grade reading level. Right? So what if he knew that reading was for him? What if he knew about the libraries that were in Africa? That we're just not here to read Beowulf and all these other books that they're giving us about Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. What if he knew A.G. Gasson? What if he knew Dr. Carter G. Woodson? What if he knew all our greats? Now education begins to make sense to him because he can see himself in the process. It's hard to be what you cannot see. And what I've learned about our educational system is that it somebody gets paid for them not to see. So when you bring me in, my job is to make sure that you see yourself in the process. And so that's what that looks like. That's what Backboards Old Books is about trying to understand how is it that these boys are so brilliant on the court, so brilliant on the field, so brilliant on the track, but that does not translate into the classroom. And through all the studies, that's why I always go back and pull from the great scholars. What they have taught me is Black boys do not see themselves in the educational process. And so if I can start to show him himself in the process, he then will become interested in education.
Throughout everything you just said, I was the two words that were just banging in my brain were cultural responsiveness. And particularly when you use the analogy that you gave Jeff the credit for, with Kobe infusing geometry into his preparation. That takes the math to another level now. Because you talk about all the kids that love Kobe, and then you talk about the contemporary players who looked up to Kobe, right? Who wanted to be Kobe-like as Kobe was MJ-like. Right. So now it's taking all that and relating that content area. And we could do the same thing with science. We could do the same thing with language arts. We can do the same thing with social studies and make it culturally responsive to who's sitting in the classroom. Right. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to put this back on the screen, y'all. Backboards over books. You got, if you're sitting here looking at us right now on the tablet, just go to your phone. and go ahead and place the order now and get it out the way before they sell out. Right? Let's take this book to #1 before midnight. Right? And I don't say that lightly. Most of the authors that come on this platform, their book is #1 by midnight. Right? I can tell you that definitively. Now it's up to the author to keep it there, but that's what typically happens. Backboards over books. Onay Chatman. Let's go. So let me stay with you, Onay. You created the Young Kings Gentlemen's School for Boys, which is a life skills academy for boys aged 10 to 18. And you have gone hard with that over the past few recent years. Talk to us about the Young Kings Academy, the Young Kings Gentlemen's School for Boys, and why'd you create it?
Well, I wanted to create something that would help serve the gap that I saw in education. So, when we was coming up, they had classes like home ec, they had shop class, they had all these classes that taught you these valuable social and emotional learning skills. Well, now you no longer see those in many of our school districts. So what I wanted to do was take an old school model of Saturday school that our ancestors used to provide students in our community and bring it into the 21st century. And so I started off doing stuff like having ironing competitions. Boy, we pull out 3 or 4 ironing boards, and we allow boys to come up and have an ironing competition, and the person that irons the best wins. I've had parents say, "Hey, my son is not ironing his clothes in the morning." She was about to pull her hair out because he would not iron his clothes every day. So now he's doing. So my thing was to bring back the life skills, how to change a flat tire. We created a competition on who can change a flat tire the best. Right? We had a cooking class. So if mom is not at home, we don't want these young men burning the house down. So we bought in a chef, teach them how to cook little small stuff when their mom is not at home. So we're teaching them these life skills that they can use for the rest of their life. All I'm trying to do is just fill in that little gap that they don't get in K-12 every day. But when they come to me in the community, I can provide that service that they don't get in the classroom building. And that was why I created the Young Kings Gentlemen's School.
Love it. Now there's leaders on the call. I got my mirror on this one, and they're hearing you the three of you. And there's somebody, I just feel it. I feel it every week. That's saying, this is good stuff, but I'm not doing this. So I'm asking you, and we know that the politics are different in different parts of the state, but I'm still, based on what you've done in your school, in your Young Kings school, what is it that a leader, an AP, an assistant principal, a new principal, a veteran principal, what are the takeaways? How can they take what you've done and obviously been successful with and bring it into what they're doing in that larger school space as a leader?
Okay. What they can do specifically is, first of all, bring us in to teach you the lessons, right?
How about you? How about
I gotta plug us here. Bring us in, and we'll bring the model to you, right? But if you don't do that, you can begin partnering with people from your local community who run businesses, who have all these different skills and assets, and begin to bring them in to show your students these skills, right? It's as simple as that. I think we don't reach out enough and pull from the great resources that are already in our local community. Many times we're looking way out. We're bringing in somebody from Australia. We're bringing in somebody from China, all these different things. And your local community has positive role models who are already running businesses, already doing all this great stuff. Simply bring them in and put them in front of your students, and definitely bring in the Three Kings. We're going to bring you the model, teach you exactly how to begin teaching these life skills to these boys that will carry on. Even when they leave your building, they're still operating at a high level in these particular skills. And so that's a way that a leader can begin to interact those things.
I got a lot to the audience out there. I still got a lot more to ask them. There's so much here. I want y'all to roll with us for a while. The numbers are still good. It's almost 1:00 Eastern time. Hang in here with us, y'all, because I got a lot here. I know that a lot of y'all gonna say, I'm gonna watch the video later. But I want to get this out here. How can, whichever one of you can respond to this, how can the folks reach the Three Kings if they want to book you? Anybody?
Jeff.
Well, you can reach out right now to the Three Kings at jwillseniorspeaks@gmail.com. That's the email right now, jwillseniorspeaks@gmail.com.
All right, so that's J and then WILL.
JWILLSR speaks with an S @gmail.com. In any questions that you have, any information about material, anything like that, you can send an email to that, and we will respond to you within that same day.
Y'all got that? Let me type. Matter of fact, one of y'all type that for me, and then I'll highlight it on the screen. Well, Jeff, yeah, Jeff, I had a question for you now, but you type in. Let me go to Kina. I'm gonna come back to you. Hey, Kina, what about the social, political, and historical consciousness of the teacher? And when I say that, let me just throw some names out there. You'll know these names. I don't know that everyone on the call is going to know these names, but I just want to put them in the atmosphere. I want to put them in the video. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Chancellor Williams, George G.M. James, J.A. Rogers, Lerone Bennett Jr., Dr. John G. Jackson, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Asa Hilliard, Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, Dr. Sharshi McIntyre, Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, Dr. Julia Hare, Dr. Donna Ford, who was on with us recently, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, Dr. Tony Browder, Dr. Malefi Asante, Dr. Milana Karenga, Dr. John Hope Franklin, Dr. Walter Rodney, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, and Dr. John Henrik Clark. I mean, but those of you out there that don't know these names, man, let me tell y'all something. I just read royalty. If you just heard me say these names and you saying, who the hell is he talking about, right? I just lifted up the names of Black royalty, but I don't have to use you preface that with Black royalty, scholarship, royalty, right? So my question to you, Kina, what is the necessity of the classroom teacher being conversant, being well read in the history of Black people and the experience of Black people overall as it relates to student empowerment and student achievement? And I threw them names because that's a sample of the folks who have already done the work. Floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I would like to start by framing this quote. As a teacher, it is my job to make the agony of decision making so intense that the only escape is by thinking. Not being in, but it's my job as an educator to make the agony of decision making so intense that the only escape is through thinking. So if you're going to put that educator in front of the same Black boys who we've all referenced, 80% school to prison pipeline in Atlanta at right jail, 80% of the inmates, we have been told based on quantitative data that over 80% of them read below grade average, then you're going to put somebody in front of them who have not taken the time out to dig deep and to study the Asa Hilliards and the James with the Stolen Legacy. Then how can you expect for them to give the kids the tools to unlearn all of the miseducation they have learned in order to relearn? So that's something that we got to think about: learning, unlearning, and relearning. But from the vantage point of not just that student, and this goes to your question, Baba Kafele, what about the educators who are standing in front of them who were miseducated in the same system? So if that system has a standardized test every year that tells the fish, the monkey, and the bird that they have to go to the top of the tree to get some item, that system did not work 100 years ago. It's not going to work today. So that teacher has to be willing to figure out, how can I get this fish up that tree? What am I going to do? And if you quote those brothers who you quoted and sisters you quoted earlier, I love Francis Cress-Weldon, then we got to actually learn what were they doing in order to get fish to the top of the tree? What were they doing in order to get other animals who are not naturally tree climbers to the top? So, Baba, I think that should be a part of the pre-planning. There should be certain things that educators have to learn if you're going to be charged with charging the most underserved in our community. So if you're not willing to do that, then how can you expect for those kids to come into your classroom and be willing to get uncomfortable reading the stuff that you want them to read? So I say it starts right there, Bob. I think just like we mandate everything else in the school system, I think that should be some mandate. If you're going to be working in front of those kids who need you the most, then there should be some requirement that you can choose. We'll take the list that you got and you can choose from this list, but this is what we're going to do. And we're not going to have Harry Wong coming in. We're not using that book this year. We're going to have a mandate that every teacher has to read The Miseducation of the Negro or The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, and one of my favorites by Jawanza Kunjufu, Black Students, Middle Class Teacher, because we're not just talking about race here. A lot of people might be listening and thinking, well, we can't blame the white man. I'm not talking about blaming the white man. I'm talking about there are some middle class Black people who stand in front of our kids every day, just like other people who are not familiar with our community, who are just as unlearned about our culture as those people who are coming from other communities. So it should be mandated. And I think over time that people actually see, okay, I'm understanding now better why this kid right here doesn't like math. When he goes home, his dad mandates that he reads Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So he look at numbers totally different than the kid who dad mandates that he goes home and get a job from 5 o'clock when he gets home from school. See, he sees money and value of money based on hours for dollars.
Yeah.
The other kid, he can look at area equals length time with, because his dad has taught him how his great-great-great-grandfather owned a plantation. And he had so many slaves enslaved people who had to work that plantation. So he saw money through a totally different lens. So now if we can move beyond where we pick up with our education about blacks who actually were brought here against their will to this country to make it so great, which Frederick Douglass was talking about in his What to the Slave, the 4th of July. If we can take them back, this is what James talked about, to the stolen legacy, to when we were people beyond enslavement. And, and talk about that from that frame of reference right there, Kafele, it might take us 2 years to teach a world history course, because we got to get rid of this one thing I close with right here. Teachers have to be equipped with the right tools, but I challenge every educator, if you're an AP or principal out there now, do not make your teachers slaves to the tools. Allow them to make the tools slaves to the teacher. And if they're not going to get the equipment that they need, how can they be challenged with giving kids the tools they need?
Yeah. I love it. DeLacy had pointed out, and I mean, hey, DeLacy, I missed a lot of folks on here, but Dr. Amos Wilson is inexcusable. So the least I could do is put this on the screen. Dr. Amos Wilson, Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, right? I'm gonna put 3 up here, D. Developmental Psychology of the Black Child by Dr. Amos Wilson, Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children. Yeah, there's you. There's it. Amos Wilson. And then African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order by Amos Wilson. Now there's more, but I got another bookcase on the other side of the room. I can't get to those. That's where my Education of the Negro, the other Carter G. Woodson book in that realm, is over there. So so I thank you, DeLacy. And DeLacy, don't throw no more names at me, because I couldn't get them all in there. It's too many, man. Yeah, so based on what you just said, Keene, I gotta ask you this then. Here we are, we're in this age, and y'all, there's the email address to book the 3 Kings. I just put it on the screen there that Kina Walker wrote. So we're in this age of book banning. We've always been in the age of curriculum omission. That's nothing new. But we're in this political age of just denying everybody the information as it relates to Black studies, as it relates to Black history, as it relates to the Black experience. So just to build on everything you just said, that leader that's sitting here right now, and by the way, leaders out there, that all those names I listed, I do have them listed on a list with the book titles. Go to principalkafele.com. Principal Kafele Writes. That's my blog page, and scroll way back, because it's somewhere at the bottom, because I do a lot of blogging, and you'll see it says Principal Kafele Suggested Reading, and it needs to be revised. But those folks, they're in there, so you can just go to that list. It has their book titles, all that stuff, and then you go from there. But getting back to you, Kina. So that leader that's watching right now, that's saying, man, he lists all them authors, man. I don't know them, and here these brothers are speaking passionately about the need for them to be a part of curriculum. So what do you say to that leader? What do you say to that superintendent that's watching? Because superintendents watch this. What do you say to that leader or that principal about how we make learning culturally relevant for the learners through bringing in material for the teacher relative to the teacher's professional growth and development, such as a developmental psychology of the Black child? Because the 4 of us, we could do this presentation not just on the contents of this book. We could do this whole 2 hours just on that title. There's so much to unpack just in the title alone. But imagine I'm a school leader or teacher of Black children, and I don't even know that this kind of research is out there. I don't know. So I'm using research that ain't got nothing to do with the children that we serve. So I said a lot there. My question again, what do you say to that leader that doesn't even know that this is out there?
Well, first
Yeah.
of all,
Hey, Keene, hang on. I can't look for what I don't know exists.
yes. You stole my line, OG.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Bob, I was gonna say it a little different. If you cannot hit a target that you do not see, how can you hit a target that does not exist?
Yeah.
So your research, as qualifying and validating as it may be, is that research based on, and I saw baseline, I think Donna mentioned it earlier, is the research that you're using, whether quantitative or qualitatively, is it based on the Black and brown children in most of the schools that we're talking about right now? Is it based on their background? And if so, you have an obligation, just like the classroom teacher has an obligation, the doggone and leaders of that school has an obligation, but more so than anybody else. If you're a superintendent out there, you have an obligation to look at the demographics in your, in your district. You have an obligation to make sure that your teachers are not only culturally aware, but they're able to transfer that information that they're learning based on these new mandates that we have for the district down to, like the teacher level. And those teachers, they feel a whole lot more qualified, because what happens oftentimes, we always talk about a trickle down effect or whatnot, but I think this is one true trickle down effect that will work, because I had so many books assigned to me. The World is Flat and all these different titles that they give us. Every single year, I'm like, bro, I would much rather have a book written by some of these authors that I'm looking at right here, Baba Kafele. And there's so many, like Neely Fuller, for example. That's high level stuff. But man, can you imagine if we put Neely Fuller in front of these kids? If we actually put this book I'm holding right now, Baba Kafele, written by just a local author right here. These are books that talks about the friends of Dr. Keene.
Oh.
And with that right there, a whole laundry list of friends of Dr. Keene that our kids never learn about. So in their minds, this is Jackie James. I will put that back up. But Kafele, if those superintendents are serious about moving the mark and making that needle move, we got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that starts from the top down. So I think Jeff said it when he said we chase fires. We're not running away from the fire. So if anybody heard any part of this discussion that we're having this morning, please know we're not running away from the fire. We're saying that if we're going to run towards the fire, we have to run towards this fire collectively. We have to make sure that you have an architect like Jeff Williams who's going to give you your action plan and design. And then Jeff Williams is going to come in and hire a contractor like myself who's actually going to go in and we're going to do the footwork on the ground. Old Nate Chapman is going to be the one who comes out there and lets you know that, hey, look, check this out. If you're building down here in Mississippi, that wood right there got knots in it. That wood is not good wood to use down here in Mississippi. So that's why he is a professor. So I'm challenging all administrators, superintendents. First of all, let's get comfortable being uncomfortable. Let's do that real research we got to do to make sure that we are tapping into the very stakeholders who we have been charged with. We have taken an ethical oath. We have taken a moral oath. And in the church house, they always say now, this is a law of omission, not commission. I shared this with the brothers. They say that in the church, we have a law of omission. So when I mentioned that principal called me as soon as he saw his new textbooks this year and his new workbook, he said, bro, Walker, I cannot let my kids move through the school year knowing that they're starting at this point right here. How would they ever understand what happened after that point? And I gave him suggestions or whatnot, and he gave me some suggestions about bringing yourself as well as the three kings in. So, hey, man, we got to get real with it, Baba Kafele, and say that, look, expect these certain things of collaboration in classroom. We talk about homogeneous group, then we got to expect the same thing from our teachers, our principals, as well as ourselves, being that we are the chief dog in charge.
I love it. I love it. Let me come back to you, Jeff.
Sir.
The three kings. We've been throwing that term around, but we haven't really gotten deep into it. Who are the three kings? Why do the three kings exist? What role do they play? What role can they play toward providing educators with the kind of information that they need in order for them to be proficient, if not more so, in what they do in the classroom and in leadership?
Right. Well, the three kings, you all probably can't see it clearly here, but this logo, it has the number 3, the logo here, and the three kings logo. It also has one crown. It has one crown, the number 3. It has 3 chess pieces, 3 kings, individual chess pieces there. That's who the three kings are. We were 3 brothers who were all not just We have Keene, who's in the classroom. Odenay has the young gentleman's school. I also have a program that is for young boys ages 10 through 18. It's called the 5-Star Boys Academy of Excellence. We were all collectively running individual programs where we were in the trenches doing the work up close and personal with people all day, every day, with our young people all day, every day. But when we looked out at the work, we just decided that a team effort was the best way to go. We decided to come together and bring those three kings together, those three individual pieces together under one crown. And you see the wings there. The wings, that symbolizes the freedom of our youth in this country. We're putting the talents, the gifts of three individual people who have the ability to stand totally on their own together to make a greater impact and influence to set our children free in America. That's who we are. How we can help you is we are about comprehensive transformational. We are about comprehensive total school transformation. When I say that, we have to look at transformation as a word and what that actually means. To transform something means that we change something, or we change it, but we don't just change it, we change it completely and we change it suddenly. And once we change it completely and suddenly, it looks much better or more attractive than it did before we started. That's what transformation is. But when you break the word down into three parts, transformation, let's go in reverse, running from reverse. Ation is a state of, a condition, or action. Form is a construction project, a building project, a structure. And trans is to go above or beyond or transcend. So in actuality, when you bring the three kings in, we're trying to help you develop the type of mindset coupled with the behavior patterns and the overall culture that helps you have a new state of condition of being. We take the type of action that brings you, transcends you above and beyond where you were. And now you look better and you're more attractive as a school than you were before the three kings came in. That is a collective process that must be done. We are all about coming in to motivate and inspire people. If you have a professional development that is a one-day session that you want someone to come in and motivate you and inspire you, we are absolutely qualified, overqualified to do that. But we also want you all to know with the three kings, if you want total school transformation, we believe in coming in and rolling up our sleeves and spending an entire school year with you. We want to come in at the beginning of the school year and walk with you through the school year. And then let's take a look and see where we're able to totally transform this situation from what it was at the beginning of the school year to what it is right now. And we take pleasure and we take pride in saying we are difference makers. You bring us in, we are difference makers. You tell us how you want to improve, how you want to get better. We're going to give you we're not just going to give you some plan that we drew up 10 years ago for some other school. We're going to come in, we're going to spend the collective time that we need to spend with you. And when I say that, we're talking everybody in the building. We're talking everybody in the building because we've got to create cultures that are conducive to success in these schools. When we talk about culture, that's what our students live and die for, Principal Kafele. Mm-hmm. People are arguing about curriculum, but our kids live and die outside the building based on culture. They wear their hair a certain way because of culture. They talk the way that they talk because of culture. They let their pants sag even though you've given them 100 dress code infractions, and they still put the hoodie on their head and drop their pants to sag because they are trying to remain within the culture. And I tell people all the time, you cannot replace culture with just rules and regulations. You can only replace culture with more culture. If we come in to help you build and create a new and establish a culture that these kids can see, they need a culture. That's the only way that they operate. They operate off culture. So if we can create a new culture, we can transition not only the kids in the school, but the school itself, your teachers, your educators. When we come in and do a workshop, we want the lunchroom workers in the building. We want the bus drivers in the building. We want anyone who is a stakeholder in this process to be in the building. And that's how we're going to help you achieve total school transformation.
So I'm a principal and I'm on the call today, or I hear about you all later. And I know that one of your emphases is transformation of school culture. Well, I'm in this school. I've got a lot of Black young men, and I'm gonna use the example you just used. Yeah, and they are wearing their hoodies. They are wearing their hats. They are sagging. and we have given the hundreds of referrals, and it hasn't done anything. And I'm this principal, and I'm representing somebody fictitious out there, and I really don't want to see sagging. I don't want to see hoodies during the school day in classroom. I don't want to see all the other things as it relates to culture. So I reach out to the three kings. Jeff, without you putting all the information out there, because I know you don't want to do that, but what could you tell me that may be able to make that particular shift in what I'm doing as a leader of my school as it relates to the culture of the building?
Well, that's why we have to have a collaborative approach.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have someone like the Professor Onay Chapman, who is adamant about the fact that he wants to do student engagement. This is why, because someone has to challenge their belief system about the culture. See, most of the culture that they follow has not produced positive results for them, but they don't know anything else. So we have to come in and we have to teach them how your appearance is valuable to what you want to do. The other thing we got to realize is we have to realize that these kids really don't care about performing just so that we get credit and that we look good. You have to make them understand how this new culture is beneficial for them. Tap into the selfish nature that they have. They want to know, how does this work for me? Well, when your appearance is in order, it works to your advantage, and we have to share with them how that works to your advantage. We have to tie education. I tell a lot of young men right now that say that they want to be, Onay alluded to it, they say that they want to be professional athletes. They say that they want to go to college and be college athletes. Well, you cannot get there without a proper education. There are GPA requirements. There are test requirements. Do you even know what those GPA requirements are? Do you even know what those test requirements are? We're going to shift their mindset by getting them to see that the new culture is actually more beneficial for you to get the results that you really want, rather than the culture that you've been following. The culture you've been following takes people to jail or takes people to the graveyard. This new culture that we introduce will actually take you to the next level. It will take you to college. It will take you to a trade that can change your life and your family's life. It may even take you to the NBA or the NFL if you're working and doing the things that NBA and NFL players do. But we have to teach them a new mindset, and we have to couple that mindset with new behavior patterns that they put on display every single day until it produces something positive for everybody in the building.
I love it. I love it. And Johnny Sadler, I see Naeem Akbar. I can't get them all on here. Hey, Jeff, man, that's powerful stuff. I'm scrolling and I'm looking for just anywhere. Okay, I see one. Once again, folks, to get in touch with the three kings, go to jwillsenior.speaks@gmail.com. I'll leave that there, screenshot it or write it, whatever it is. But that's how you get in touch with them and inquire as to whether or not there's a compatibility there, and I'm sure there is, to come into your school and make things happen, right? And I see that my father-in-law is listening, so that's a good thing. How you doing there, Brother Deacon? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So let's go. I'm winding down, y'all. I just got like two more. Hang in there with us, man. I got like two more. Hey, Onay Chapman, Professor Chapman, the author of Backboards Over Books. There's a chapter in here called Making Schools Cool Again, right? Making schools cool again. Just give me an example. What do you mean? Like what's something we could do to make schools cool again? Or to make
so in the book, I use as example, I was down in Panama City, Florida. By the way, Dr. Tommy Mabry took me to speak on his platform. Well, big shout out, Dr. Mabry. And I'm speaking to a classroom full of Black boys, full of athletes. And a boy walks in who had just scored a 36 on his ACT. I say, hold up, stop the press. I asked all the young men in the room, raise your hand if you know who this young man is. One hand went up. Now, if he had scored 36 touchdowns that year, everybody in the school would know him.
Yeah.
And so I began to use that type of mindset to say, how do we make education cool again? Right? How do we highlight him instead of only highlighting those that run touchdowns or those that score baskets? Why don't we have a program for this young man to show that he just made a 36 and nobody in the room knows him.
How about that?
For me, that's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. You know, because I gave them guys a whole lecture. I said, how is it that y'all don't know him? I said, you need to get to know him. What did he do on his test? What is he reading? What is he studying? And then it just began to come to me that we got to make this stuff cool again. We got to get out of this mentality that it's cool to act dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to get away from that type of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, that you're lame if you're smart. If you're doing well in school, you're corny or you're lame. No. What I tell people is the guy you make fun of every day at school, one day you're going to walk into a building to get a job. He's going to be on the other side of that table. Yeah. The same guy you laughed at, the same guy you bullied, the same guy you said he was lame because he was smart. He's going to be on the other side of that table when you walk in to get a job.
Yeah.
What if he takes your application and throws it in the trash because you bullied him in the 8th grade?
Yeah.
I need us to start thinking about these types of things. And so that's what I mean by making school cool again, making smart cool again, making brilliant cool again, because I'm looking, you called all those names a minute ago of our great scholars. I'm thinking to myself, how did we fall so low? Man, these people are great. These people read Dr. John Henry Clark from all over the world.
Yeah.
How is it that now that standard has dropped so low? Right? And so I'm trying to get back to making education cool again, making being smart cool again. Right? And so that's where that chapter came from.
Love it. And you know, as an aside, because you reference those scholars again, Dr. McKeever Jeter, you referenced Chika Akua. That's all our guys. Yeah, he'll be on here in October. He's already booked. So he'll be here in October. We're gonna go one-on-one. So stay tuned. And yeah, he could be on that list. But the ones I had on the list were the ones that, you know, wrote a lot of history and all that kind of thing. Chika's been writing a lot of education. I know he's got some history, but he'll be on that list soon because I know he's still got a lot in him that just hasn't come out yet as far as the writing. That's my guy.
Like, can I piggyback on something that Onay said? I actually lived in my own household what Onay is explaining. I myself am a former college athlete. My oldest son is a college athlete who went to college on an athletic scholarship. My second born son, who had a 4.2 cumulative GPA for his entire 4 years of high school, was disappointed, nearly to depression, that he couldn't be an athlete like myself and his older brother. I'm having to have the conversation with him like, man, you're in a better position than me or your brother. Why do you desire to come out here and run? I mean, I was a football player. I've had 5 knee surgeries as a result of playing sports. Why don't you just being smart is okay? I had to have that conversation with my own son. Being smart is okay. And I had to make a conscious effort to celebrate his academic achievements the same way that I celebrated his older brother's athletic achievements. So I had to do it in my household, and I saw the damage that it can do, man. Our kids who are smart, in particular our African-American boys, they are struggling at school, man, because they are made to seem lame for being smart. They're corny for being smart. I mean, it was a struggle for him to go to school every day, and he doesn't want to go to school because he's got a 4.2 GPA.
Wow.
Imagine that. Imagine that struggle as a father saying, my God, my son is brilliant, and he's nearly depressed because he's brilliant and because he's not being embraced and accepted for being brilliant. So it had to start with myself and my wife here at home. We had to make sure, man, I started posting everything that he did academically on social media, making sure that we highlighted it, making sure that he was okay. And I never forget it, his high school graduation, which he graduated a semester early from high school, you know, and he had finished his first college semester before he even walked across the stage for high school graduation. I had to point out to him how significant that was.
Yeah.
And I had to show him our last name is Williams, but he was sitting in the first row of his graduation class because he was in the top 10 in his class. And I told him, man, when I graduate, I had to be transparent, man. We make school cool again by telling them the truth. His athletic scholarship was worth, his academic scholarship that year was worth more than a classmate that he had who signed a basketball athletic scholarship to play at Georgetown University.
Wow.
So we make it cool by telling them the truth, man. There's money in being smart.
That's right. You know, it's interesting you say that, and I won't dominate this because this is y'all's day. But I picked up on that early in my career. And when I became a principal, I said, I've got to find ways to celebrate achievement more than just the honor roll student, more than just the student of the month. I got to find a way to celebrate the masses of them. And I did by I'm just going to give this one example. This, instead of student of the month, subject area student of the month, which wasn't participation trophies, but it's looking at those young people who are typically overlooked. So, for example, in a student of the month, you're looking at kids who met a criteria across content area. Where I said, let me just pick one subject area. Let's say that you're underperforming in everything, but you're just innately brilliant in math, right? Okay. Let me celebrate you for that math. Let me announce you over the PA. Let me put your name on a list that we put in the lobby bulletin board. And let me celebrate you with that, with the hope that I can encourage you to go harder in the other subject areas. So what we found in doing that bulletin board was sparse in the beginning. But by the time we got it moving, man, I couldn't fit all them names on the bulletin board. And we're talking 14-point font. But we shifted the culture because we said, I'm going to celebrate you. I never forget the first time we did this at the high school level. And all the students were at the bulletin board looking at their names, and the bell rang, the late bell rang for the next class. And my security came out, man. All right, everybody, let's get the class. I said, no. If they stare at their name for this entire period, I'm good with that. What? Yeah. Because they ain't never seen their name up for that reason. They're used to seeing their name on some suspension list or detention list or something. They're seeing their name up for academic achievement. They're putting their finger on it, so we put plastic over it, right? So they're putting their finger on it as they see it. I said, no, we're gonna let them stay. If all they're doing is just standing there staring at their name, I can go with missing this one class this period, right? And that's exactly what happened. And then it just grew. Because of everything you just said, I said, I got to find excuses to celebrate these children outside of athletics, right? And I think it worked, and we just kept doing it, and it just kept growing and growing along with the other things, which I'm not going to get into all that right now. Hey, folks, we just about done, y'all. And then we're going to go to those rapid fire questions. But let me throw it, Kina, real quick, and then I got one general for all of you. Kina, here's the reality, and you know this. Most of these inner city urban high schools have a heavy gang presence, if not infestation, that there are a lot of adults in the building who are in denial that it exists, but it's there. The activity may not be there, but they're in there, right? So my question to you, being that certified gang educator trainer, share with us your thoughts on why so many Black boys, and it's not confined to Black boys, but I've been kind of focused on Black boys today. Why are so many Black boys gravitating to the gang life?
Well, Jeff Williams alluded to it earlier when he talked about culture. Mm-hmm. Gang life is culture. You hear them talk about it in terms of gang culture. So one day I brought a guest in. I love to bring guests in, like we alluded to earlier about politicians, and it was a politician. And I asked the kids, how many of you guys know the Pledge of Allegiance? And everybody raised their hand. I said, what do you pledge allegiance to? They say the flag. I say, why? That's an academic pause, everybody. Why? Yeah. They had no idea why they pledged to the flag, other than they have been indoctrinated since they were in kindergarten that you stand, not only say it to the flag, but you're going to stand and put your hand across your heart. But then I asked one of my boys, who I know was a known gangbanger in the school, but he always came to my class on time. He always came to my class prepared. I asked him to stand up. And I said, I'm going to give you permission right now, but you know what I need you to do. He said, what? Show my flag? I said, yeah, because I said, you cannot come in my room flagging. But, you know, when I'm in Newark, you know, I abide by the rules that they abide by in Newark. So in here, this is an academic setting. I can't let you flag. But he came in, I asked him to just pull his flag out. And I asked my guests, I said, go over there and try to take his flag. And man, you could just feel the tension in the room immediately. And the guest said, man, I'm not touching this flag. I said, why? See, because that boy, he took an oath. He pledges allegiance to his flag every day. That red represents Cleveland Avenue, not Cleveland Avenue, Cleveland Avenue, because that's a blood neighborhood. And he will die. That's what Jeff alluded to. He will die for that flag because it is a part of his culture. You cannot dismiss that culture when you do not have a culture to replace it with. That's how we started the program out. So when you're talking about this gang culture and the teachers, educators, we need to be educated on that, because some people think, Baba Kafele, just because a kid is wearing purple and gold now, that he's not a part of the gang. No, these kids are like chameleons. They're so smart that they can change colors on you right before your eyes. Yeah. Anyone who understands that this kid wearing LSU paraphernalia, yellow and purple makes blue. Yeah. But if you do not see the target that you cannot see, how can you see the target that does not exist? And that goes back to why we want to come in and give a comprehensive plan. And we don't want to scare anybody. We just want to have that conversation about gang culture, about your school culture, because we are not thermometers that just checking the temperature. We want to be the thermostat that controls it. And by the time we leave that building with this total transformation piece going on, Baba, hopefully you guys will be able to control the temperature. But this is one last thing, Baba, and it goes to your question. Just, I think, right before COVID, I went to one of my assistant principals and I told him, I said, hey, this kid right here, man, this is the most dangerous kid in the building right here. And my principal's exact, my assistant principal's exact words was, no, Walker, that boy just a gang wannabe. I said, brother, the wannabe is the most dangerous dude in any gang. Yeah. He said, what do you mean? I said, look at these gang leaders out here. You know, they're not wearing a flag or anything to say they're leaders, but all the gang leaders, all I got to do, Baba, to get control of the culture on my floor. I could just walk out, look in the hallway, call one of the gang leaders down here and say, look, bro, y'all know y'all can't be doing all that outside walk room. My bad, Walk. I know it's your bad, bro, but I need y'all to move. Bam, it's over with. That dude who wants to be, who I told my assistant principal about, he was alleged to have killed the girl who was in my freshman class right there in the city. And I came back to my house and I got a call. It was my assistant principal. I said, hello? He said, bro. He said, you heard about the killing? This is two of my students now. I said, yes, sir. He said, I just want to call you and say, you know who little brother that was, right? And I said, no, I don't know. I just know his name is Sunset. He said, yeah, look at the last name again. He said, you know you taught his sister also. I said, who? And when he told me that, he said, but I just want to call and apologize to you because you told me that dude was the most dangerous. I didn't say Kafele, he was a bad kid. Yeah. I said he is the most dangerous kid in the school. And you said to me he is a wannabe because you do not understand the culture of how this stuff works in the real world. So we're trying to give them tools that they can use when they go out there, like navigating down Cleveland Avenue with your school books in hand, because we are creating these situations where we celebrate the athletes, we celebrate the academics, and all of them can walk down the street together as a cohesive force. But you gotta understand the culture, because I use my gang leaders as leaders in my classroom, because I understand that a lot of them do not know why they actually pledge allegiance to that culture, but some of them know that you just can't walk away from it like your classroom teachers and administrators think. Yeah, it's blood in, blood out. So, you know, that's a whole nother conversation that we can have. But thank you for asking that question, because gang culture permeates my school. That's real. And anyone who's going to be honest and have a real conversation about it, they will tell you that there are some kids who get bullied. They will tell you that some kids understand that when you walk in this building every day, you're not just going to be fighting him if you get into it. You're going to be fighting the whole Cleveland Avenue. You know what I'm saying? So we got to deal with that, man. If we don't want to deal with it on this, you know, like episode right here, I think it's definitely something, Baba Kafele, us, you know, as Three Kings and yourself and other people who are concerned about Black boys in general, we definitely need to have a real conversation, no microphones, no recorders, where we're talking about how this culture is starting to permeate our schools and why it's not cool, One, to be, and why school is no longer cool. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But you said something earlier on that it deserves repeating for somebody out there. You said purple and yellow,
yes,
combined makes blue. And I'm sure that hit somebody out here watching just now, right? Because you thinking, all right, they purple and yellow, we good. They Laker fans, they LSU fans, whatever, right?
Yes,
and not realizing the intelligence of the kid. No, I'm wearing blue. I just dissected it, right? So I got yellow and purple. I'm in purple, but it's symbolizing blue, right?
Yes, sir.
So now I'm saying, leader out there, just based on what you just heard, you might need to look at some things differently. It may not be as it appears. It may be something totally different from what it appears to be that you see in front of your eyes. So I appreciate you bringing that out as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and see, young Dr. Tammy Else, hold it, how dip, said hit me, drop it knowledge. I got one more for y'all. This is for all of you. I'll just go and I'll start with Jeff. Hey Jeff, I'm a teacher, Black students, and that's pretty much who's in my classroom. And my main theme to my teachers is work hard in your classes now. Work hard, and success is waiting for you later. Let me say it again. Work hard, go hard, give maximum effort. That's what this teacher's preaching every day, right? Give it all you got. Burn the candle at both ends, whatever it is that folks say. And success is waiting for you later on. Here's my question for both of you, for each of you. I'll start with Jeff. What's missing in what I just said?
Well, success, first of all, is not something that happens right now. Success is always a process. It's always a process. And what creates burnout is the false perception of what success is. See, when we start with that false narrative that if you work very, very hard, burn the candles on both ends, you're going to have success, and success is a process that happens later. So we got to be honest. First of all, I need you not to work hard, but to be consistent, because sometimes I don't need you to go all out. I need you to be consistent over a period of time. I need to have a game plan. We need to have a plan that all of us are executing the same game plan in every single class at every level. There should not be one plan for the executive level, one plan for teachers, one plan. We should all be working. Now, we all have different roles and responsibilities within that plan, but we should all be working consistently in the same direction, chasing the same goals. And the reason how we do that is I need to get everybody with a solid mission statement. I heard you, Principal Kafele, a few weeks back say that you go into so many schools that they don't have a mission statement. They don't have a vision statement. And I'm sitting there saying, my God, if you don't have a mission, then how we can work forever and we're still not going to have success if we don't have a mission. It's about nothing. It's just unproductive work. And that's what burns somebody out, to know that I'm working hard every single day and I'm not seeing results. But if we're consistently working the same mission, and we understand that mission word for word, because I've seen that too. I've actually done professional developments just on the mission statement. I've seen leaders who either don't have mission statements. I've seen other leaders who have a mission statement that they inherited from the previous leader that was there. It's not even their own mission. It was already on the wall, so they just left it there. And then I see people who have a mission statement that when I ask them word for word what it actually means or what it looks like on a daily basis in their process, they can't tell me what it looks like in their process. They can tell me the dictionary definition, but they can't tell me what it looks like. So I have to tell everybody, first of all, we get there quicker if we all do this together. We work consistently. Sometimes that means I may not work as hard as Keene. I may not work as hard as Onay. I may not have as much in the tank to give today as they have. But that's why we have collaborations. That's why we have teams, because when I don't have 100% in the tank, my teammates, the other members of my team, can carry this baton across the finish line. That's what we have to do. We have to have a consolidated plan, clear and concise vision, and we have to be consistent with that clear and concise vision in the process every single day, consistently over time.
Love it. Love it. Onay, what's missing?
What's missing is the one point that needs to be made is fall in love with the process. fall in love with the process. I was doing a presentation and a teacher asked me, she raised her hand and she said, I hear what you're saying, that every boy tells you he wants to go NBA or NFL. She said, but what do you do about the ones who they really, really, really believe that, even though we know they're not? I said, let him keep going hard. Here's why. He's falling in love with a process of hard work, where even if he does not make the NBA or the NFL, by him constantly falling in love with the process of putting in the grind, it can now translate to everything else in his life. So that even if he does not hear his name called to the NBA or NFL, he's used to grinding now. He's used to putting in the process and the work. So now we can shift that to him reading, to him studying, to him becoming an entrepreneur, to him becoming an engineer, teacher, educator. Now let's take that same energy and focus and now put it into something else. And so don't discourage them from going hard, because I believe that's going to eventually translate, where even if they don't land where they thought they were going to land, that work they've been putting in is now going to help them in their falling in love with the process. So that's what I would add to it. Fall in love with the process.
Fall in love with the process. I love it. Don't just love the goal. Don't just love the outcome, but love the process of getting there. Kina, same question, last question. What's missing?
I think a focus on habits. Aristotle says it this way: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So what are we in the habit of doing as a school? What are we in the habit of doing as classroom educators? What are we in the habit of doing as students? So I think one of the big things, Baba Kafele, that we need to do is make sure that we start to create good habits for them, because I referenced 3 books in my class that strictly deals with habits. All of my students are charged with reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. We also focus on atomic habits, and we focus on tiny habits or whatnot. And I oftentimes tell leaders when I come in to speak with leaders of the school that if we can just doggone find out what their good and bad habits are and replace those bad habits with more good habits, then we are building what Jeff says is the blueprint. Because we can't even build a foundation if we don't know what their bad habits. And I know just particularly in the inner cities, especially in Atlanta, one of the worst habits they have is coming to school. I mean, I cannot teach a kid who's not there. We cannot celebrate a kid who's not there. We cannot grow as a school and create this culture if the kids are not there. So I won't belabor the point. I'll basically say this right here, Baba Kafele. If you look at habits, because all habits are not good. We oftentimes talk about habits as if they're good things, talk about the 21,000 hours or whatnot. But some of these kids have made it a habit not to come to school because they know on the back end, there are all types of nets underneath the tightrope that's going to catch them. And hence, that's why I started out by saying there will be a lot of people at graduation without an education. If we say we're in the habit of saying that if you did not get enough seat time, you will not move on to the next grade. If you are in the habit of not showing up to school, we're not going to use all these rules that have been legislated that says they can miss 9 days, but as long as they come on the 10th day, then that 10-day cycle starts over again. No, we want to get a habit that says that attendance is not important because it's perfect. Attendance is important because you have to be here in order to get what it is that we're trying to pour into you. So simply put, Baba Kafele, we can go through strategies all day long, but I would just say until we get the habit of making sure that the teacher is not slave to the tool, that the tool is slave to the teachers, and we create that habit that they can pass on to their students who know also that, you know, I'm in a habit of getting here every day on time. And you know this, Baba Kafele, even in our speaking realm. Man, those folks who are paying you to come to speak, they do not care that you doggone your flight got delayed. I hear you all the time through your text on the post or whatnot saying, I had to jump in a rental car and drive 8 hours. So if you're not in the habit of not making excuses, for example, if you're in the habit of making excuses, you just say, look, man, I can't help the flight was late. But you are in the habit of saying, I don't make excuses. So simply put, man, we got to change those habits or whatnot. And I would say kudos to you because I noticed lately you have been in the habit of hitting that doggone gym. You've been in the habit of traveling with your queen, and you're taking care of yourself. And I said to the 2 kings before we came on, I said, hey, brother, I remember that brother had some bad habits. And I don't want to be a traveler who get the 1,000,000 miles. because I understand the wear and tear that it takes on your body just by watching this brother who we exalt in the world of speaking. So thank you, brother, for correcting some of those bad habits that you had also.
Appreciate that. I had
Yes,
some
sir.
bad habits, eating, lack of exercise, man. Oh, I'm good now, man. I'm 40 pounds lighter.
Yes, sir.
Taking care of business. I'm trying to live to be 100.
Oh, Doc. Doc, I meant to post this. This is cheap one right here, man. Reading Revolution. Whenever I open up class, I will give them, I don't care if it's U.S. history, government, current issues. I had to throw some chica in there, man. It's like 10 quick little multiple choice questions that they can do. They always start asking questions like, Ms. Walker, I never heard of this man. How come they don't put this man right here in the books? And there it is. That's how you deal with CRT. I didn't tell you. Look, if you ask a question, I have an obligation to respond. So
he got some great stuff out there. I'm looking forward to him being on here in October. He was on that other platform, but I just didn't have the time. You were on there, didn't have the time to continue it because that's two different planning.
Yes.
And it wasn't humanly possible. So I just had to confine it to this. And let's go to that rapid fire real quick. I call these my BAM impact questions. Since it's 3 of you, I broke it up into 7, 7, and 6. It's 21 questions. So 7, 7, and 6. Because I'm giving all of you the last one. Each of you has that. Right. So let's go. Kina, is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
No.
Are you optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of Black and brown students in America today?
Yes, if we go ahead and bring in the right tools and the right resources, I'm definitely optimistic, always optimistic as an educator.
Good stuff. Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and underserved students as it is now?
No, I think we must be real clear about what the definition of equity is. And when people think equity and equality is the same thing, it will never happen. So until we actually drill down on what equity truly is, no.
Does Kina Walker's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes, because I have given my life to this. My family has actually married into this same movement that I'm a part of. So definitely, yes.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
My line of work will be different, but I think I will probably work outside of the context that I work in now because I truly feel that I'm not a content creator, but a context creator. So I think that I could do a great job helping to frame the context of education to students and teachers and parents and all of the stakeholders that I can as a content specialist.
Wow. What fires you up within the work that you do?
Seeing those young cats from the hood come in, man, and just hit me up in the morning like, Big Walk, hey, man, I read last night. Big Walk, hey, man, look, my reading scores went up. I don't care about their grades. All I care about is them coming in and having that love for getting more education, not schooling.
And similar question, after doing this for 30 years, why do you continue to do it?
Because the ancestors whose shoulders that I stand on, including yourself, and many of those names of people you mentioned with that long, robust book list. I do it because if they could do it, man, with whips being across their back, if they could do it at the crossing the transatlantic in this thing that we call the enslavement process for Black folks, I would be remiss if I did not do what my big mama and all of the other big mamas and big daddies all over this nation did with all of the luxuries that I have. So I have an obligation to the ancestors.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to Onay. What do you love about the work you do?
Being able to not just look at students, but actually see them.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
That too many school districts operate in red tape. Let's get to the work. Let's cut the red tape.
What has been your greatest victory in this work to date?
Greatest victory has been seeing lives transform all over the nation. Testimonials from parents.
What has been your greatest mistake in this work?
Greatest mistake. Oh.
And if none, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I guess making too many assumptions, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
The greatest challenge has been getting into the places many times that we need to get into. Once again, going back due to the red tape and the politics of education.
And who inspires you in this work?
Oh, so many. I'm talking to one. I'm talking to you, Dr. Tommy Mabry, Black Educators Rock, all those educators and great men and women who I talk to all the time through Facebook and Instagram, and just all the guys I've read before, the great women I've read before, that long list that you call. I've read all of them, and so that's who inspires me.
And lastly, what are you reading now? Book, blog, article, anything?
Oh man, right now I'm reading a book called Community by Peter Block for my doctoral program. Also Palaces for the People.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Jeff, what book would you recommend for our viewers today?
Closing the Attitude Gap by the one and only Principal Kafele, because I don't think people realize how much of a problem that really is.
I appreciate that. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
What I would like to accomplish that I haven't accomplished yet is really seeing education really be transformed across the United States.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally now?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Continue to kick them down.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Find something that motivates you enough to get reignited. There's something important enough to you that it will reignite your spirit.
If Jeff Williams Sr. was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Disruptor.
If One Chapman was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Oh man, I'm a wall jumper, bro. Wall jumper.
I hear. If Kina Walker was a word in the dictionary, what would be your definition?
Awakening the genius.
There it is. Awakening the genius.
Yes, sir.
Great stuff, y'all. We brought it to a close, and let me be the first to say, man, I appreciate you three for everything. This was solid. This was powerful. Folks, you know how we do. The folks who have been with me, we put the emojis up. So give us your favorite emojis. I hear there's some new ones out there too. Give us your favorite emojis, and we use that as applause for our guests to know that today resonated. It was useful. It was beneficial. That it was something that they could take back, that you could take back to your respective schools and implement. So give us those emojis. I see them coming now. Here they come. Here they come. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I see that fire. I see that praise. I see all that stuff, man. Keep it coming. I see them hearts. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. That's our way. And let me get my big emoji out here. Right. This Josh Gibson style right here. The grand slam, man. That's like, I can't do this math. Y'all got up to bat 4 times, hit 4 grand slams, brought in all them. There's 3 of y'all up here, so this brain don't work that way. So I don't know how many runs that is, but it's a whole lot of them. It's runs that the New York Mets need. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Tell them once again how they can reach you.
Will, that's JWILLSR, speaks with an S at gmail.com.
And perhaps each of you would want folks to reach out to you individually as well. So let me start with One. One, how do they reach out to you?
So you can find me on Facebook, OC Chapman.
Yeah,
OC.
Just O and a C.
Yeah, just an O and a C, Chapman. On Instagram, I'm Professor Chapman. Email One, that's ONAE .Chapman at gmail.com.
Get that again.
That's how you can reach me. And
do that one more time.
It's ONAE .Chapman at gmail.com. And let me add this very quickly. Listen, only in sports is it a bad thing to be a super team. What you seen before you is a super team. That's Three right. Kings are a super team.
That's right.
We don't get a strike against us for being a super team in education. Right? Only LeBron James got a strike against him for going to Miami. But in education, we are a super team. Listen, you want to bring the Three Kings in.
That's it. That's it. Kina, how can they reach you? And I'm gonna put the book up. Just y'all can go to Amazon while Kina's speaking. This is
okay. You can reach me on Facebook at my government name, Keene Walker. You can reach me on Instagram and Twitter as well as TikTok at Mr. Awaken the Genius, which is at MRAWAKENTHEGENIUS. And lastly, you can reach me at my email address, info@KEENEWALKER.com.
Excellent. And this brother right here, this the baddest math teacher in New Jersey. He's an AP now. He'll be on here later because he just became an AP. We're gonna get him on here. But Michael Dixon, man, thank you, sir. I can't do that one. not without writing it down anyway, right?
Hey, Baba Kafele.
Yeah.
Since you had your baseball bat, man, I would be remiss if I did not say go Braves, man. 21 out of 25 victories in June.
Yeah, they unstoppable, man. They unstoppable.
That's great, Kina Walker. But if we're talking baseball, we got to talk about the reigning NCAA World Series champion, LSU Tigers. And listen, before we go, I also want to say this. I didn't talk about the work that I do with sports teams during the broadcast as well. But when we say total school transformation, we talked a lot about academics on here, and we are about academics. But I've also been involved for the last 7 years in helping to create 9 state championship teams in 3 different sports. And 5 coaches of the year and over 70 players that have gone to the next level. And we teach them to go to the next level that you actually have to be solid in academics and in athletics. It does not work any other way. So even if you're somebody on here that's saying, hey, look, we love the 3 Kings. We want to do the academic work, but man, our athletic department is struggling. What can we do to get it to the top level too? Hey, we got you covered on that front as well.
Excellent. Well, look here, y'all. Let me close out, but you 3 stay on for me when I go off so we can talk off camera. But hey, folks, before you leave, appreciate you being here for week 166 with the 3 Kings. I encourage you to join me next Saturday morning. Will I be here to do that one? I might be, and I may be on the road. It's hard to say right now, but I got Rick Wormley. He's a world-renowned educator. I think he was the first national board certified teacher in America. But he'll be here. He's the author of countless books, but the one I'm gonna be using is called Fair Isn't Always Equal. So I'm sure that many of you have used his material in your school districts. Rick Wormley, very animated. That's one of my brothers out here in this speaking world. So join me next Saturday at 10:55 Eastern Time live. Facebook Live every Saturday morning. Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. The 2 doctors, Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30 with Create and Educate. Unlock the Middle with my man Josh Tovar and Dean Packard on Sunday nights at 7. And then the Village Leadership Group with Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. Join me at the School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele on July 11 and 12. It's almost here. We'll be in Charlotte together for 2 days. We talking leadership all day long, man. And that's including those that want to get together during breakfast and talk leadership. I'm down. Y'all that want to talk during lunch, I'm down. Notice those that you that want to talk after the fact, I'm down, man, because I'm just going to be there, right? So come join me. Go to principalkafele.com. Go down to the where it says register. We'll go down to where it says School Leadership Institute and click register, and then join me, right? And then you can also just Google School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Either one. Make sure you Google the 2023 one because all the other years are there too. Make sure that you pick up the assistant principal identity, right? You can get it right now. While you're at it, you might as well get its companion, the assistant principal 50. So get both copies. And I ain't getting that other one. So get yourself a copy. And lastly, make sure you subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. We're up to 18,400 subscribers. That's nothing to sneeze at. But you know my goal, I keep telling y'all, 20,000, right? And then after we hit 20,000, my new goal will be 25,000, man. I just want folks on the channel so that we can change the way we lead these schools as assistant principals and principals. And then lastly, for sure, your diet. Make sure that you're eating right, y'all. You know, I slip sometime, man. Yesterday I walked past a Carvel and had to keep walking and walked inside, right? And got me a small cone. I tried to walk past it, but I said, nah, I'm going in that bad boy. You know, because the doctor said to me, he said, nah, I mean, just moderation. I said, so let me get a moderation ice cream, a small ice cream cone, man. And I felt real good eating that cone, man, because I can't do that too much. I haven't had a soda in 8 years since the heart attack, man. It's, I eat cookies only when I'm on a vacation. I don't eat them at home. You know, the donuts, I haven't had a donut since the heart attack. I haven't had a cupcake since the heart attack, a brownie. I haven't had any of that stuff. So I'm good. You know, so just, and I got type 2 diabetes, so that's a largely why. So make sure you're taking care of yourself by eating, get the exercise in. I was in the gym yesterday. I'm doing a me day today, but I'm going hard in that gym tomorrow. So make sure you're getting your exercise in. Thank you, Dr. Chester. Rock Conference. I don't know how. I know what happened, Melissa. I got caught up into what I'm doing and skipped it. It's right here in front of me. Rock Conference. Right? That's Black Educators Rock. That will be July 13 through 16, as I said in the opening. Come on down here, y'all. Be with us. Go to rockconference. Is it com or org? I thought it was org, Melissa. Well, if com works for y'all, use com. COM. If it doesn't, use org. I kind of think it's org, but I could be wrong. Matter of fact, I can tell you right now if I'm wrong. Let's see what's my other notes say. Hang on, y'all. Hang on. I'm talking to myself, man. Here it is. I got .org on here. So anyway, you say it is what, Melissa? Which one? Hit me up again. Tell me which one it is while I still got these 103 on here right now. Yeah, here she go. And she wrote, Rick, man, fix that, right? rockconference.org, right? .org. Hit me up, Melissa. .org. So we want y'all down there in the building. Oh, it says you got on here Rick Conference. So it's ROCK, right? It's Rock Conference, y'all. We ain't Rick. Here you go, Jessica. Right. Thank you, Jessica Pope. So rockconference.org. Join us in Jacksonville, Florida. We're gonna send Ron DeSantis a message. While we're down there, we're going to send him a message. So you come on down here with us while we send him a message. And here, let me tell you what the message is. Black education matters.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the message.
Yes,
Black
sir.
education matters. That's the message we're sending while we're down there. So join us. Other than that, y'all, appreciate you being here and appreciate you staying on while I added them couple extra tidbits. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Flip it backwards. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3 with me. 1, 2, 3. Bam!
Bam!
I see y'all next week, but make sure you stay safe out here. And remember those 2 words, attitude and decision. They go hand in glove.